Hi, Twitch.
Hello.
All right, let's pop right into it. If that sounds good by you.
Sure.
Gave me so much to talk about. I'm so excited. Hello, 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 and welcome to Bonus Pod, the companion podcast to the MinMax Show. My name's Haley McLean. I'm community manager at MinMax, and today I'm joined by Janet Garcia. Hi, Janet.
Hello. Hi.
Janet, you're the best guest because literally you sent me like a million things we could talk about. And it's just like, oh, my job's done. I don't even have to plan. I just wrote down like 5 of the 25 things.
We could also, and we probably will, like talk about none of them somehow, but like find 8 other things, which is also cool. So
that's the thing too, is sometimes you just kind of want to shoot the shit and just like the topics happen anyways. But we have to have like, I have to post on the Patreon feed of like, we're recording soon, anticipated topics. But I think you're right. I think one of these episodes, you and I just have to go in completely zero anticipation for that's how like the Mewtwo crush talk sort of started. I mean, I know Sarah wanted to talk about video game crushes in general, but that just got unhinged immediately. And then
even right before we started recording, like us talking about the like the death of Wordle, and it's like it kind of reminds me of Pokemon Go, where like I know some people still play, but it's like, but that height, like, and I love that stuff. Like I feel like something that I really want to do more of is, and I saw someone on social media talk about this, of like dipping into trends sometimes. Like, oh, just have some fun. Like, you don't want to be the person who like, I actually never played Pokemon Go. It's like, boo. Like, that's no fun. Like, just enjoy the fad. Like, the positivity of fads at times. Obviously, they can also be negative, but it's like, yeah, that was a moment in time. We all did this, and we get to like have a shared experience, which is cool because you don't have a lot of those in life. I think especially after you're done with school, you know?
True. I feel like where are the fads? Are we just too old and we don't see them anymore? Where the fads be at?
I feel like, I don't know about like fads as big as like Wordle, but I think even just like, even though I'm a hypocrite because I have to be honest, I didn't look at the Eclipse because I didn't get the glasses in time. I got lazy with it. But like, I think stuff like that where it's like, is this that interesting inherently? Not necessarily, but it's like the thing we're all doing. Like, let's all get to kind of like how like we all watch the Super Bowl. I don't know, maybe you don't watch the Super Bowl because you're Canadian. I'm not really sure. But like in America, we all watch the Super Bowl. It's like, I don't like football, but like this is what we're all doing today.
I watched the halftime show.
And we sit around.
Counts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit.
That's basically most of it.
During the eclipse, I didn't have the glasses either. And I looked up for like 1 second. I was like,
no.
I know.
Haley, why did you look at it?
Because I have an ego and my brain's like, yeah, they have warnings, you will burn your retinas, but I'm different. I can look at the eclipse. It's
my God.
It's like Q-tips or something. It's like, you're not supposed to put them in your ear, but I can because I'll be good about it.
Okay, putting a Q-tip in your ear is way less dangerous than looking at the sun during an eclipse.
Okay, but when I looked up, it was...
That's horrifying, but thank you for sharing. I feel like this is like, I've seen this on social too, where it's like the big sister she's like, oh, let me not get too mommy about like my my kid sister's like Instagram because I don't want her to like take me off her socials because I can't handle her being like not a child anymore. That's like how I feel with you telling me about the eclipse, where it's like, you know what? This needs to be a safe space for us to just kind of admit some things.
Of course.
So like, I will hold it in a little bit.
I didn't want to admit that.
I'm glad you're okay.
You know what? I need to admit that. It was when it was completely covered, but the whole 100% risk, I say that like I was safe, is like the next part where the sun's visible again happens at any second, and then you freaking get destroyed with your retinas, and literally. And there was a little bit for like an hour after where I could see like a little, like it was just like a sea of like, and I was like, oh my God, did I just I was like Googling it and I was all nervous. I looked at it for maybe half a second, but I was like, ah! And then I had a sea in my eye for like
just a taste.
Just a taste.
You're like, have you ever just like licked a socket just to see if the electricity would run into you? It's like, why?
Lick a socket.
No, I would. That's the thing. I couldn't handle the pressure. The pressure of like, of the what if, like, I mean, that's why I can't get LASIK, because it's like that percentage of people where they're like, my eyes hurt forever and I want to end it all. I'm like, I can't risk that. I can't do it. If I could re-roll for that, maybe I'd be down, but like, no.
LASIK is just, you hear about all the different types of surgeries, how invasive they are, something about, they're going to laser a layer off your eyeball. It's like, what are we doing? I mean, I know that it probably has like a 99.9% success rate or something, but what are we doing? No.
Yeah.
Leave the eyeballs
I
alone.
agree. I know some people that have gotten it and love it, but also it's not like you have to get it again later too. It's not like it magically fixes your eye forever. So I feel like I'm good. You know, it's like
You'd rather wear glasses.
I don't want to get involved.
Hitmonchance's first guy to get LASIK must have been so desperate. Who was the, yeah, that's like an interesting
Honestly.
rabbit hole to go down. Who was the first person who was like, try it out. Let's see how it goes. LASIK my eye and I hope it works. Because I mean, they probably did it on cadavers and animals for years because humans suck.
Yeah.
But the first person to actually test it out. Did you pick up anything?
I wonder how that works, like legally and ethically, because it's like, you know how you never tell anyone. I mean, not never for everything, but like usually you don't want to tell someone that it's like your first time doing something because they're like freak out. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
oh, it's my first time driving, like someone. It's like you don't want to hear that. It's like just get in the car and like whatever.
Yeah.
Could they be like, you know what, we've actually done this on a lot of people. Like, don't even worry about it.
Oh, he didn't
You
even
have to be like, hey, I gotta
frickin'
be
know.
real with you. I gotta be so real with you. Like, I've never done this on a human. I gotta be honest.
When I had my jaw surgery, the anesthesiologist told me, she's like, I'm still a student. This is my first time actually being able to do stuff in the room, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that makes me feel great. And then you know what she did? She really messed up my recovery because I had double jaw surgery when I was 19. It was the most invasive, horrible, hard
It's
surgery
horrible. I hear
ever.
that surgery is terrible.
It's brutal. And my body got snatched. I think I was talking to Leo about this. My body got absolutely snatched, though, because I couldn't eat for like 2 months. And I was like, oh my God, I'm my goal weight by not eating for 2 months. Like, how toxic is that? And then you eat one thing and everything gets gained back. So what's the point? But the reason I had such a hard recovery is because when she was pulling out my tube, like my breathing tube I had while I was actually under, it got stuck on the side of my throat, and instead of just like chilling and like maybe getting help, she pulled it up and cut the inside of my throat like several inches. So, and it burned.
Oh.
So, and then while she was doing that, I actually woke up to throwing up because she like hit my uvula or whatever. And like, keep in mind, I'm like 10-second post jaw surgery.
Ooh.
And so like I'm literally like I remember having the thought like half awake, like completely high on drugs, like, oh, I'm dying. Like I'm passing away. Something happened to the surgery, I think. Like you also think that you're already in heaven and shit because you're so high on drugs, you don't know what's happening. And then when I came to, they explained to me what happened, and like she like was really sorry and whatever. But like, yeah, you signed
Oh my
disclaimers
God.
and stuff before that, like,
Yeah.
you know, someone said, did you sue them? I don't know. I didn't, obviously, but like maybe I could.
You probably can't, because like even
don't
with
know.
which like that's the great feeling, isn't it? But even with my like wisdom teeth removal, which is like a pretty common procedure and really not that invasive, like they mention like, hey, there's like a technical chance like you could get like nerve damage, but you kind of just gotta like be okay with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Do you hereby
Like, what are you gonna
consent?
do?
Like, yes.
What, not get the procedure?
Yeah, in that case, it was
Yeah.
probably I could probably argue malpractice, because even if I signed all this stuff, like she donked up by pulling it out the wrong way and like really messed up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like you're on a liquids only diet after that forever, and drinking hurt because it would like I drink water and it would like go down the side of the cut on the inside of my throat,
Ugh.
which should never be cut ever. It's the most protected freaking, unless I'm swallowing swords or some shit. Anyways, that made everything like 1,000 times harder, but yeah, that's like, well, how did we get even? This is exactly what I mean when I'm like, we could just shoot the shit and just like end up talking
But you're
about the
here
weirdest
after
stuff.
you looked at the sun and you lived to tell
I
the
looked
tale.
at the sun. I got my throat cut from the inside, and I'm stronger for it. Good Lord. Yeah, they took my
That's
wisdom
rough.
teeth when they were in there out. Like they kind of said that, like, do you want us to take your wisdom? They don't need to come out, but we might as well take them out in case they ever do in the future. We're already there, like 2 inches away. We could just yaga them
Yeah.
out. I was like, sure. So they took them out. And I remember I was so high. I was like, I pride myself on being nice to everybody I ever encounter. Like service people who, you know, just cross my path and maybe they're rude to me. I'll just be nice, kill them with kindness, be nice to them back. It like makes me feel better about anxious situations. I was so mean to my nurse because I was so high. I was such a bitch to her. And I wrote her a note after I left. We looked up her because I remember she came every few hours and had to give me this goo that I would drink. It was like anti-inflammatory stuff. And it was, I remember it looked just like the goo from Portal. Like it was orange and teal, which is like the 2 portal goo colors. So like I was also high and I was just like, I don't want the goo. And I would like yell at her. I'd be like, get out. And like my mouth was wired shut. I probably looked insane. And she was just like, you need to have this now. I was like, leave. I was like so mean and high. And then I was like, I'm so sorry. I like wrote her a note. I was like, I remember being so cranky with you, like in spans of when I was conscious. Like, I'm very sorry. Like, I never got a note back from her, but I hope that she was like, haha. That was crazy. Yeah. But I was so cranky and uncomfortable and on 8,000 drugs.
Yeah, I feel like obviously this is like a privileged place to speak from because I've like had, you know, really good health and I don't have any like general just health issues, but having just leaving like the wisdom teeth out, I was like so insufferable afterwards just because like I couldn't eat like normal foods. And then like they're like, well, you can kind of go back to a regular diet, but also like if something gets lodged in there, you could get infection and you could die. It's like, okay, well, I don't really feel comfortable. So I waited so much longer too to like eat regular foods. And I was just like so tired of just like not having food. I had Isaiah make me some mashed potatoes, and it was like the greatest thing I'd ever eaten. I was like, oh my God, something that isn't what I already had. I'm like, these are so good. He's like, all right. Like, it's fun. But yeah, I was such a baby. I'm like, I'm sure, like, you know, they always say the human spirit rises to the occasion in terms of physical traumas. But I just can't imagine having to deal with anything actually serious because I like couldn't really handle the wisdom teeth, if I'm being honest. So I'm like, I don't think I could. I'm not built for hardships, I think.
I think something to do with like mouth and jaw stuff also creates this psychological anxiety when you're healing. Because if I broke my arm, if I broke my leg, if I broke my ribs, it's like I'm in pain, but I'm laying there. And otherwise, like I could fuel my body, talk to people, you know, be somewhat comfortable head up. But like when I remember when my jaw was wired shut for so long, and it's not wired. They use elastics now for safety. They used to do wires like back in the 90s and stuff. But I remember just being so insanely uncomfortable that like the core of my being was just being like, for weeks. And it made me so angry all the time. And you just kind of sat there. And I remember my doctor told me I could have noodles like 3 weeks post-surgery. And I remember every day I'd wake up and I'd be like, 14 days until I can have noodles, like 13 days until I can have noodles. Like that's how crazy my brain was getting to just like to eat a noodle. I was so excited. And then I remember the day came and I couldn't chew still. Like I shouldn't be eating noodles. And I just was like crying. So I was like, I just want noodles. Like, God damn it. That's how psychological those kind of things go. Because you also can't talk to people properly. And it's just annoying.
Yeah, it's not good. And then I had like a bunch of other, I feel like maybe I did talk about this on content, but now I don't know if I did, but like I had all this small dramas too of like it took me so long to like figure out like what are you guys charging me for this, and then it was like I'm like that's kind of a lot, but I'm like I don't want to have to see someone else and just to try to save the money, like just take it. You know, it's like all of that. And then like I didn't get like my prescription on time, then called back and was like, hey, like
I remember you mentioning
this didn't show up. They're like, yeah, they're like, we sent it to like a place that closed, and I just had like all these little dramas. And then I get really paranoid too. So I'm like, if I don't take my antibiotics, like, will I die? And someone, of course, like the algorithm always knows what's going on in your life. So they're like, this is a story about how my sister died because she didn't take her antibiotics. And I was like, it's not my fault. I'm like, what do I do? You know? So it's just, just a mess of things. But also I'm just inherently overly dramatic as well. So I'm just like, you know what? I think a normal person would be like, I'm fine. So I'm just going to ride it out. But it's done now, and I'm so excited to not have random bursts of pain throughout my life from having these teeth. So, yay.
And it's weird how once they're gone, you're just like, that's done. You're safe. Why do my dad's a dentist, and I've asked him, I was like, why do we even have wisdom teeth anymore? Like, why do we evolutionarily get them? And it's just like we're just not far enough on our evolutionary chain that we've completely got rid of them yet. It needs another few thousand years, you know? It's a weird thing to think about.
Ugh. I'm bummed that we're not going to see that either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we won't be around for the when wisdom teeth finally leave.
Exactly.
It's okay.
On a more positive note than our mouths being broken and bruised, you have fun. I'm so excited that you might get an office space that's so spunky and fun.
Yeah.
Did you have one before?
Yeah. No. I've never had an office space like proper. So like to clarify, because I feel like And even just talking about it with Isaiah, my fiance, is just like, okay, well, what's the? Because I have a home office, like we have a 2-bedroom, and I finally have like I have a space that like I work at, and I'm the only one that works in here, and I do podcasting from where if y'all watch the video version, you see me from here, and if you watch like some of my streams, I'm in like a slightly different setup, but the setup's in the same room. Like I remember Ben coming over for SGF, and I was like, yeah, here's the like little tour of the place. This is where like me and Michael did the stream. And he's like, oh, I thought this was like a whole nother room. And I'm like, God, wouldn't that be nice? Like it's just like and the room's pretty sizable, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things, and I'm sure a lot of people who either currently live or have lived in a small space or just not like a huge space, like it can be fine unless you're doing like too much stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like anyone can live anywhere, right? Like people live in vans, like like trade, do like the whole like vagabond kind of lifestyle or tiny houses. Like you can live in any space, but like if you're trying to do okay, we have a diner table and then like a living room, and then like we have both of us work from home. It's like okay, this could be a good amount of space, but like the way we use it, it's like it's really kind of at capacity a bit.
Yeah.
And Isaiah's been talking about for like a long time, like he's always wanted to have some form of like an office space like outside of our apartment. And then we've also been talking a lot about the logistics of like where will life lead, right? And it's like, okay, one day we'll like to get a house. How are we gonna do that? I don't know. Like, and it's like, oh, how big would it have to be? And I'm like, well, I would need space to work. And he's like, no, like we would just get like a space at that point, because it's like it's gonna be too much to like get a whole extra room in like a house or something just for you to have space that still isn't even enough space. And then we like looked into it a little bit, and like honestly the pricing's like pretty comparable to like, especially if we downsize this apartment into like a smaller space and then have like another space. So yeah, so the TLDR is we're looking at getting some form of an office space, and definitely like the dream would be to have like a little bit more of like just a studio proper-ish, where it's not like we're jumping over all these cords, because so much of this too, like it is mostly my office, but like I still have like my clothes in the closet, and like it is still like generally a place in my house where it's like when people stay over, like I put the air mattress in here, which isn't that often, but still it's just like there's a lot of setup and tear down that I do when I like do different kinds of content.
Yeah.
And just the idea of having something that's like purely dedicated, finally having a separation from my house to my work, which I haven't had in like, I don't know, like four years. And even before like the pandemic, I had an era where I was freelancing and working from home as well. So I think just that extra focus, just the ability to kind of like hone in more and sort of set up for like the next era of our lives. I don't know. It just feels really exciting, because I do think inherently still, this is just like part of our apartment. And then also too, like Isaiah will get a space to work because he works out of our bedroom right now. So it's like he has even a way smaller space than what I have, which like even when we first got this, I'm like, are you sure you don't want we just set up 2 desks and like I don't need like a bigger stream space? And he's like, no, like you have like shows and stuff, but here it's like an office space. There's a door, there's like a bathroom that isn't also my home bathroom. It's like, okay, it's like this could be really cool. And like we were looking at a space that we're gonna check out later today, and it's funny because it's like a normal space. Like it's just a white room. It's like not even that big. It's like, I don't know, it's like under 300 square feet. It's got like a big, really old desk in the pictures, and then another big old desk. And I'm pretty sure it used to be like a motel. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this looks fucking sick. Like I'm so excited about it, because it's like, I think too, and one thing that he's kind of like, that we threw out there, because I'm like, obviously it's the financial component. And he's like, I kind of like almost want us to have that extra like investment to also like step up our individual projects and careers, to be like, okay, let's kind of like almost rise to the occasion and really like
into it,
start going in. Yeah, and I think too, just having like that push financially and also just that push with the space, like, yeah, it would be kind of nice to be able to work and not have the option to like dick around as much. It's like, okay, I can't do laundry and work at the same time because I'm not next to my washing machine. Like, yeah. I think that'll kind of improve in a way that like I wish I had the discipline to maybe do outside of that, but I think this will help bolster that. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to check it out and, see what it has to offer and what it looks like and all that.
Yeah, so Hitmon Chan has the same question I was going to ask. So would you commute to do your streams and stuff too, to make that feel like more like a scheduled work thing? So when you're home, you don't stream it all at home?
Yeah, I think that'd be the ideal. I do think we'll have, especially while we're still in this apartment, like I have like a little IKEA table that I used to use it as a desk. So I'm like, okay, we can kind of just have like an emergency like spot for if someone wants to do something at night or just whatever, even though we have a kitchen table too. But yeah, I think I would just be all the way going to like the studio space to do that. And we're like looking at stuff that's in our area, so it's not like obscenely far, like it's very like commutable. So just the idea of having that finally like a separation between where I live and where I work, and then too, Isaiah brought up, which like I didn't even think about this, which, and I know like I mention Isaiah all the time on content, and like I'm very positive on Isaiah because Isaiah's a really good person, but like genuinely Isaiah does so much for like my content where I'm like, you don't need to do this, like it's not your job, you know, like you have your own career, and like obviously I'll take the support and the help, but like I try to like do my own stuff, so I like don't even think to like include him on the stuff I work on because it's like, oh, it's my kind of burden of doing it. But he's like, yeah, and then like I could like produce stuff for you potentially and like throw stuff up if you're like doing a stream. I'm like, oh my god, like you could, and like the fact that you would do that, like I would never think for him to have that role because it's not his job, you know. He has his stuff that he does with like coding and all that, but I'm like, oh man, like, and even just like with the stream I did with Michael, like having Isaiah around to like do like little stuff where he's like, I'm not even doing anything, like you don't be overly complimentary, but I'm like, just someone that could get up and do something or like grab us something. It's like that is such an asset because doing everything on your own is like so hard via death of a thousand cuts. So that'll also be like an option for us too. So yeah, that's it seems really fun, and it does seem like it's gonna be a good setup because we don't really like. I think in an ideal world we'd maybe have like an apartment or a house that had like a huge basement that could just be like a content basement, but like that's not really realistic, both in structure and also size. Yeah.
No, that's I envy that. That sounds nice. Like, cause I've worked from home since the entire time I've been a lawyer, and also half my law school experience was working from home. So when I first like at my old place, now we're in a nicer place, and I actually have a door where I can close, and like my partner Michael can be in another room. Because what was really frustrating, not even for Michael because he's too nice, but I felt bad, was like all my work is really confidential. He can't hear what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I like, you know, that's kind of like the core of what I do, even though, you know, game lawyer, it's confidential information isn't as crucial as like say a corporate like M&A litigation person who's dealing with really, you know, I'm helping devs make cute stuff and they want me to talk about them on Twitter. So it's like less of a bar, but I still have to be confidential about everything I work on. So, you know, I'll be in my old place. If you look back at my old streams, like my desk was in our living rooms, and he would oftentimes when I was just streaming fun stuff, like be behind me playing a game on our TV behind us. And that's just kind of worked. But then whenever I was working and it was his day off or something, and I was like, okay, I have to have a client call. Like, you need to go and sit in our bedroom with the door closed, because our living room also didn't have doors, so I couldn't close the door. And like, I know he's not gonna go and like try to listen or whatever, but it's like I'm trying to have some kind of professional boundary so that he doesn't feel awkward about like being in the kitchen while I say something very confidential or whatever. And that just made things so awkward. So when we moved to this place, it would have been so much cheaper for us to just get a 1-bedroom, but I was like, we need a 2-bedroom. So I can shut the door and you have the whole rest of the apartment to do whatever you want. And it's on me to like keep the confidential stuff in a little nugget. But having that to be a whole separate office that's like just mine would be cool too. It's just like having a dog kind of makes me a little more hesitant to doing that, because unless I could bring her.
No, the dog's tough.
Yeah. Kitties are I envy kitties because it's just like they're so self-sufficient and independent and chill. My dog is she can get left alone. We leave her alone for multiple hours at a time all the time, but every day for 8 hours I think is like be too much and be mean to her. She would get upset about that over time. So I have to be dog friendly, which would be hard
dogs
to find.
Are always like a huge time sink, just because they're like they just require more care. You know, you have to like walk them, like they're more active. Like Bruce, she's not noticing really. And we used to, you know, go into the office like back in the day too, and like Isaiah did that while he had Bruce, like his whole beginning of his career. But yeah, just the ability to have like more space for the same or less money, because there's definitely a way. Like I was just, you know, glancing a little bit at it. If we were to downsize where we're at here, or same deal, we have to get a 2-bedroom. It's like, okay, that math could actually like work out to be almost the same amount. Like it is tough to find that because it's, you know, you have to like cut the difference down by like a significant portion, but like it is not impossible to find something that's like the total cost would only be like $100-$200 more if we like scale this back. And yeah, I guess it is probably like it's interesting because when he first kind of introduced that idea, like for like, oh, our full-time home that we eventually get like won't have like a workspace. I'm like, oh, but like how am I gonna do that? And I'm like, yeah, no, it does make more. You get like it's just cheaper to do it that way, and then you do have that separation so that you don't end up like that. Remember that guy on the news where his like kid walked in
Oh my God, I love
on him
that.
casting the
And
news?
they're all just like,
Obviously, my job is not nearly as serious as the news, like as live news, but it could be good to have just like separate stuff a little bit, and also just be able to do like more elaborate setups where it's not like, okay, I actually just made a mess in like my home. It's like this is now a mess in like my workspace,
and I can go
which is
home. Yeah.
separate from my home.
How excited
Yeah.
are you to
Did
decorate
you
a
be able to
place
go
like
home?
that? I feel like you could.
What was that?
How excited would you be to decorate a place like that? Oh, that's like the dream.
Oh yeah.
Project.
I'm like, we're gonna like another. I'm like, we're gonna buy another K-cup machine. It's gonna be great. Like a little yeah. It just seems like it'll be. And it's funny because I also told him, I'm like, he's a big fan of The Office, as most millennials are. And I'm like, this is literally Michael Scott's paper company. Because it's like a shit kind of office space, but it's like, this is ours. It's like,
Yeah.
And also just, I think it's to be a little bit easier and I'm going to say more professional, but I don't think anyone in our field like cares about that aspect, but it's just a little nicer to be able to also like, if I'm collaborating with someone, to invite them to an office instead of just my home, which like, I don't have a problem letting people into my home, but it's just kind of like, all right, like, let's like pass the recite. Like, it's just kind of, it's not as ideal as going into like someone's workspace versus going into someone's home. So like, I think it'll be fun for collaborating with other people too, just to like have a space for that. So we'll see. Again, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because we haven't looked, but
yeah, I think your tax situation,
think so.
It'd be so much easier to differentiate costs if it's a whole separate location.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm very lucky in that I have like a financial advisor who I like met through just working in the industry, who's like, hey, like, down to help you out with your stuff. And like I, kind of vetted him and he was cool and he's been like helping me for years with that kind of stuff. So I hand him that information. He kind of just turns my return into like, I don't know, it's like a 90-page document at this point of just like all these little things that like I would be too scared to like. I'm like, I go through TurboTax, so I don't really want to like go too crazy, So yeah, like him being able to really like see all that I can do is always nice, and yeah, definitely can be a write-off, even though write-offs don't make it free, but just help for like leveling out that income a little bit.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it should be cool. It's always fun like checking out like new eras and being like, oh, this could be like the next big thing we do, which is cool.
That's fun, and it's on the precipice of y'all like getting married soon and stuff too. That also feels like it's a fun era switching spot for y'all. Oh, getting married and then working with your partner in the same office sounds super fun. That sounds like dream goals.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we've been wanting to do like content together too, which like TBD on when we end up doing that, but it's like, yeah, just having like a place to work seems like it'll kind of, I don't know, there's certain things, and a lot of this is just like psychological and like human nature, but like certain things just give a boost, and I know not everyone needs that, and to a degree I don't even know that I need that to the degree that other people might, but it's like it is nice. It's like what the difference between like working out at home to like Apple Fitness and like going to the gym, and you can totally do both and both are very valid, but I'm like, I kind of want like that, like, and now I'm doing this and I'm totally focused, and that kind of stuff helps get me in the zone to do it. Like I kind of always need a little bit of like a carrot on the stick or like blinders on to I feel like those are when I'm at my heights. And I think this could be another one of like just that excitement of something new. Like I love new stuff, and it's like, oh, this is like a new space to work, and we're gonna like take this to like another level and like really get invested in it. So yeah, I think it'll be really cool, but I don't know, we'll see if it happens.
That's exciting. I think the separation of location is huge for work-life balance. That's the one thing I'm missing, because I've gotten a lot better at the last couple years. I used to just be on 24/7, which was stupid, and like always answer emails when I got them and stuff. And it's just because that's like kind of how you're conditioned when you're in school too, is like if your professor emails you, you answer them right away. And if they say you need to do this for tomorrow, you're working until 5 a.m. and to get it done. And then you get into the professional space and you have to like unlearn some of that stuff from university. And I was bad at that. It took me like way too long. But I think if I had been going to a separate place to work, it probably would have helped a lot too. I did that a little bit, but then COVID, like a new strain of COVID came back and I couldn't go to
Yeah.
law school again. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just work from home forever. But my boss was nice and was like, do you want to have a Nova Scotia based office for the law firm and you can work there and we could even make it dog friendly? And I maybe would start to rethink that possibly, because it would be nice to have that. But at the same time, then, I don't know. Yeah, I'm on the fence. But hearing you decide to send it that way kind of makes it appealing. But then it's also kind of tough because I sort of am split between like lawyer work and then like this kind of content stuff, which always ends up being in the evening. So maybe it like I would never sort of have that anyways. Not that this feels like work or anything, but I wouldn't be doing min-max stuff at the law office, and then I wouldn't be doing law stuff while I'm doing min-max stuff. So it kind of feels like maybe it's just not in the cards for the weird spot where I'm at currently.
Yeah, like you do kind of lose, you know, a bit of that flexibility because it's like here I can do anything at any time because I'm like I have access to every single thing that I need to do in my life, which is kind of overwhelming when you frame it that way. Yeah. Which I think it kind of has been. It's been a lot of like trying to juggle like chores and household things with like work, and I feel like I've not been juggling it badly, but like I see the gaps and I'm like, okay, maybe this could kind of help me like really zone in and improve stuff a bit. But that's also very specific to like my work, which is like all my work is just this, which on one hand, like sometimes I have like, and it's kind of what's tough too. It's like when there's that little dead space, but it's like not that much space, but then like it's so easy for it to slip away and the day kind of just gets away from you a bit. So I think going somewhere and being like, okay, for these hours, like I'm just working and then like I can, you know, leave whenever because it's not like I have to. And that's kind of nice too, where it's like when I think if I worked, I'm not saying that this is your job because like you seem to like your job, but like sometimes when you work for something that's a little bit more over the shoulder-y and like inherently collaborative, like obviously you're working with like your colleagues, but you also like a lot of your stuff is like to your clients and you're like working for your clients while like sometimes when you're doing other stuff, the TLDR is like people just be like, are you busy? And you kind of have to look busy. And I hate that aspect of a lot of traditional jobs.
Yeah.
But here it's like, I don't have anyone that's like checking in on me. Like I just work for myself. And I mean, I work, you know, with other people. Like I work at MinMax and Remap and all that. But, you know, Ben's not like slacking me like, hey, can I get an update on like what you're playing? You know, like I mean, like this is not the kind of job. So it's nice because it's like I can be as on as I want to be, but there's no like need to. It's not like I need to go. Like if I worked a regular job, like I probably would want to work from home because I don't want someone like monitoring like how long I'm like eating a bag of chips for. But like this doesn't have that layer, so it's like I can just like go in and lock in, and then I can leave, and you know, you have that flexibility sort of. So, yeah.
No, I'm the exact same way. I couldn't stand when I worked retail and it's like the store is dead. It's squeaky clean. It is absolutely squeaky clean. Everything in the back's folded and organized. I've done everything. Why can't I stand here and look at my phone? Like, why can't I? Why can't I stand here and read a book
I think that's
or whatever? You know, it's just,
I hate that so much.
Ugh, it's just, and it's like, because it won't look approachable. I'm like, no one's in the store. Like, no one's in the store. So
and I think like I really hope that stuff eases up as like time goes on, because I do think our generation is a lot more like pro worker. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of other generations were like, I'm pro corporate because like I'm climbing the ladder, but I think a lot of the rungs on the ladder have fallen off. So we're like,
no,
you're climbing nothing, man. And some people still are very like, I think, disillusioned by like the loyalty to like corporations and you know, it's tough because it's like you want to like be like my family and like my background, like my dad was very like prideful in like doing a good job at his job, and I think that's like really important, really valuable. But unfortunately, so often it's like it's not enough to do the good job. It's like you got to be like this certain way or do this thing. But that stuff always sucks. Like I went to a movie when I saw The Mummy a few weeks ago, and I talked about it on Bonus Pod.
Yeah.
One of the guys, like, you know, who like checks the tickets or whatever, he was like reading a book, and I told my brother, I'm like, man, I'm glad he gets to just read that book, you know? It's like, because no, it was empty. It's like, he checked us in, it took 2 seconds. You know, it's like, all right, like, and then I'm like, hopefully he can just read that book, and like, this isn't the day that corporate comes in. They're like, I noticed one of your employees is reading a book. You know, I'm just like, but yeah, I'm totally same for that.
There's, I can't stand people. I'm
glad that's kind of going away a little.
Yeah, like I've seen people be like, oh, you know, people who are at the checkout at the grocery store shouldn't sit in a chair while they're doing it because they should appear up and able and ready to help you at any minute. I'm like, give them a fucking chair. Give them a chair. Who the hell, like, there's never been one time where a checkout person has ever needed to reach more than like 3 feet around them to pass me something or help me with something.
Yeah.
Because at my grocery store, we bag all our groceries. Like, we don't get them to bag our groceries. We bring our own bags because we have like a ban on plastic bags. So at this point, it's just like they should just have a chair. And if they have to stand up from their chair to help, say, an elderly woman in a niche case every like 50th customer who needs help bagging her stuff, they can just stand up for their chair, and then the hour and a half in between they can be comfortable. It's just insane. And then you'll hear like sometimes older people be like, no, they shouldn't have chairs. Why should they sit on their ass all day? I'm like, you sit in your ass all day just in an office doing a slightly different, what's the difference? Like, it's just handing stuff around. Like, when you get up to go pass
so many
your receptionist a note, does that mean you should stand for the rest of the day because one part of your job required you to stand up? It just makes absolutely no sense, and it pisses me off so much.
Like, imagine if, like, at an office, you, like, had to stand.
Yeah.
You're like, we don't want you to succumb to the comfort of a chair. Like, it's really, really silly. And, yeah, you know, like, Discord chats point out, like, how ableist it is as well, which, like, again, like, not to make this this could be a whole thing, because it is, but, like, all of these societal issues are, like, so intertwined, you know, where it's like, yeah, like, let's just all get through the days, like, and that's it, and that could be enough. You know, it doesn't need to be this whole big optics thing. But yeah, since I have that freedom, it's like I feel a lot more down to like go into a space, because it's like I'm doing that simply to actually work. Because I do think there's like, you know, and I know people will debate that, like, oh, work from home, like people suck up work. Like, as long as you get your job done, it doesn't really matter what you're doing with any extra time. For me, it's more of, I think, like, reflecting on my own work, it's more me wanting to use my time more efficiently and potentially like increase my output of like certain things that I do, in terms of, you know, maybe getting like stuff written like more or stuff like that. It's not necessarily because I'm not like getting my work done. Because again, the only work I'm really obligated to do is the stuff that I'm like, that I directly get paid for, which is like min-max, remap, whatever. Everything else is kind of my own volition and kind of melds together to create one thing. So a lot of stuff, like, I could do a lot less than what I do, but like I don't want to. So like that's kind of it's so like a valid, weird DIY job thing. So it's like, okay, like, you know, there's that kind of if you can lean, you can clean. God, I hate that stuff.
Oh my god, that is so frustrating. Yeah, that kind of mindset.
Corporate era, but like still pro worker, you know, don't get it twisted.
I think you're right that mindset's going away, as the people who were forced to stand for no reason are finally old enough to be the ones in charge of whether someone sits or stands or leans or doesn't lean, and they're like, it's fine, you can lean, who the hell cares? Is Pen to Pixels and like your other work, do you have a sole proprietorship, or have you like formed a company for that kind of stuff, or how do you manage that kind of stuff?
You know what's funny? I actually do have an LLC. I kind of forgot.
Do you? That's
already.
Cool.
But I just haven't like formally put everything under it. So like for Pen to Pixels, like there are no ads. I won't say that that'll be true forever, because maybe my opinion or like whatever will change. But one of the reasons that I don't have ads is because I don't want ads, which is kind of in line with like Isaiah's philosophy too. He's the designer of the website and the coder of the website, so he both made all the logos, all the colors. Everything related to the design was like purely, I mean, so to say purely his vision makes it sound like I wasn't involved, but like I was like, hey, I want to make this. And he's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, that looks cool. Cool. Let's run it, post it, whatever. And he creates a lot of different products like on his own time. And he's a believer that, you know, he wants to make good products and enjoy like a product that he wants to use. And he doesn't like ads. So he doesn't put ads in most of the stuff he does. So to that end, like, the only quote unquote monetization I have for Pen to Pixels is just part of my Patreon. Like my Patreon's very like generalized. It's like, hey, I stream, I write sometimes, and of course I guest on like all the other things I'm on with min-max, remap, whatever. So it's like, if you like my career and like to see more from me and support me, like you can give money here, but it's not like it's directly, you know, something like, and I'd like to maybe add a few more incentives, but it's not like, oh, you get like this direct like vertical within the site or something like that. I think eventually I would maybe explore things like that, but it's very much like, hey, general bucket of like, we keep on going. And like Pen to Pixels I just do because I like writing, and like kind of my, I don't want to say justification, but it's like, hey, like this is like kind of in a way monetized through like, if you pay me on Patreon, like cool, I get to keep writing, but like I'm not necessarily, I don't need to hit like a certain threshold to do the amount of work I'm doing on it. It's just something that I write for. I think eventually I do want to do like a separate. My idea right now is to do like a crowd-funded version for like a year of like content, because
Oh,
right now I'm the
cool.
one that writes for it. I had my friend Eddie, and peer in the industry. He wrote a preview for Uden Chronicles for me, and I paid him out of pocket for that, just from like, hey, this is just money I have. But I would love to do a, just making it up, and I'm making up the numbers because I don't know what the numbers would be. Be like, I don't know, 5 grand, 1 grand, 10 grand, whatever. It's like, hey, you get, for every whatever amount you hit, we'd get like this many reviews or this many features in a year, and then I could just take that money and just like pay people to do reviews, and it would have like full transparency on like the rates and how they're determined and things like that, and it'd be like fairly high rates, because like I hate how low paid reviews are in
Yeah.
games media. Like, you spend so many hours playing the game and then additional hours writing the review, and you'll get like, at a lot of websites, very much nothing or close to that, like $25, $15, $10, no bucks. It's like, that's insane.
Criminal.
I think that's criminal,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do it. Many people have offered to obviously like write for me for free, and I've denied that because I think that's gross. So yeah, so eventually I'd like to do that, but I would maybe get paid. I would maybe pay myself from that if we hit like a certain threshold. But inherently, I'd want that money to just be like, hey, this covers the taxes of this money, and it just goes to people. But we all kind of get the benefit of getting to read more content. And I kind of see like my editing work is like baked into just like, again, my Patreon, all that other stuff. Like, maybe if for every, I don't know, 1,000, I get like $100 or something made up, whatever. I haven't thought about it, but like,
Yeah.
like I'm sure if it made like $1 million, I probably would want some of that money to like live. But I also want it to be, make it where it makes sense. Where I feel like the goal is just to get the more content out there. All I really need is money to pay people. I don't necessarily need money myself, even though like I am doing the editing work. But
You
again,
need
a
to
lot
pay
of it is
yourself
like
so
that.
that you can continue living to
Yeah.
keep the gears turning of your business.
Yeah, but that's, to me, it's kind of like what my Patreon is, and I feel like this would be like, maybe I get a percentage of something from it, just so that it makes some sense. So
Yeah.
again, like in the situation where it's like this blows up, I'm not like still I don't know, like having the issues I have or whatever. But
Yeah.
but that would be like the core vision of it, because again, to me, like my Patreon's kind of where, hey, you want to kick me a couple bucks, my Twitch, stuff like that. But yeah, that's been my career is interesting, because everyone's like, I think I always look at it and I see what I haven't like gotten to yet, and like what stuff I'm behind on, and like everyone else that I know like that talks to me is like, you're so busy, you're everywhere, like it's crazy. And I'm like, I feel like I haven't done anything in the last like 3 days. But I think it's the forest and the trees, most likely, and I probably am too hard on myself, whatever. But
You
you know how
are.
it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was curious if you had
Yeah.
an LLC, because you would
But
make a lot of IP. You do a lot of IP generation stuff, which can be beneficial to like plunk it all into an entity to like foster
yeah,
value from there.
yeah, and that's also like just the other thing that's really been holding me back from creating okay, like let's crowdfund like a rate to like pay people or in a budget, is like I really want to do it correctly, where it's like I'm trying to make this all above the board, and I have like, again, a financial advisor that's like more than happy to make sure that like that stuff makes sense, and I like give people freaking, I don't know, what is it, like 1099s if they like work at a certain thread, all of that stuff. Like I want that all to be like organized and right, and I am like, I don't want to do that yet.
Yeah.
So it's like I have technically an LLC that I think it's active and fine, but I gotta like check in on like what's the cost of that, the whatever. But eventually I would like to do that, and even just have that be like, create maybe like a sub, this is probably not using the language right, but like a sub entity within that, where I can like, when I do like I do consulting work as well. And like whenever I've consulted, they've asked me like, oh, are you like operating under an LLC? Or are you an individual? And I'm like, oh, I've just been doing individual. But definitely if I could do like a vertical that is maybe like essentially like a consulting firm, and I just work within my own consulting firm.
Yeah.
And then that also is nice because it would create the opportunities for, additional collaborations with like, if I did actually make that more of a holistic firm that's like, oh, I'm advertising this as like this is a corporation I have and we operate, and I could pay out like, I could get gig work at a large scale and pay out other creators. Stuff like that would be it'd be nice to have those options. And like as I'm operating now, like I don't have as much of that flexibility.
Yeah.
So I definitely would like, and then also there's like legal protections of just like having stuff be an LLC versus not. But like I just been kind of, that's like on my to-do list of like, it's kind of like it's more dramatic than this because it's a little more complicated, but it's like how a lot of y'all might not have made that doctor's appointment yet. I'm like, I know it's not that much, but like, oh, then I gotta like look into it and
Go to it.
I gotta search on my healthcare and I gotta see who Blue Cross Network. It's like that kind of it's a bit of like a little bit of a clerical hurdle, but also because I haven't started working on like the business plan for that yet. I'm kind of like, this is okay to like, I'm still sort of trying to make everything else I currently do a little bit more solid.
Yeah.
And then building, but also being down to build before everything's perfect because things are never going to be perfect. Like, perfection's the enemy of completion. So it's like, okay, like let's find that middle ground of like, we're pushing into creating new things and like doing more projects, but we're also not scaling so fast that I'm like, oh my God, like every day is hell. It's like I'm working too much or something. So we'll see. It's a fine line.
Yeah, no, if you ever want to chat more about it, because that's kind of what I do all day is just talk to people about LLC formations and best ways to split revenue and stuff. So if you ever want to chit chat,
that would be good.
I'm down.
I appreciate that. And I feel very like privileged in having, people like you and like my, advisor and these are like I don't know. Like I think it's always important to think about how much we often have going for ourselves of like people in your corner or like resources. It's like, yeah, hell yeah. Like that's like so like generous of you to offer and also just like so like comforting to have someone who knows something. Cause again, doing stuff solo, like there's so many things that you need to do. It's like, I don't know how to do most of this stuff. And like, how do I learn? It's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, so just being able to like have someone that has expertise is like super valuable.
Yeah, no, I always feel bad when I hop on a call with somebody who's like, I'm going to ask dumb questions. I'm like, they're not dumb because I didn't know the answer until I went to a school whose whole job it was to teach me this stuff. Like, it's totally valid, especially IP and all that kind of complicated, like, where does it go? How do you, and there's also just until you see other companies doing it, there's also really spunky ways to go about revenue sharing and like kind of like what you're talking for it to be equitable with the people who you create with. Like games are very much, especially the people who get laid off from the big companies who then split off and do their own indie stuff. They're very interested in, okay, yeah, I'm CEO, but I want everyone to be super happy working here and feel like they're getting a piece of the pie, not want to leave and jump ship because they're feeling undervalued, blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of care towards those kind of things. And then I work with really cool accountants who know all, like I don't know all about the accountant stuff. I don't know the first thing about how to file the taxes right or like how to avoid capital gains or all those like weird niche stuff. So I always just lean on them and then they have all these spunky ideas and I just like execute the documents to make them happen. But it's you definitely have to lean on people. Like we had one accountant suggest this really cool idea and we've been using it more and more, which is every game has its own company, which is like a sub of one parent company, which is the game studio. And then every dev who works on a game gets an ownership stake in the sub company. So the money flows from the parent company to the sub. So the first game's called Game A, and there's 10 devs. They each get whatever rev split relative to how much work they do or whatever. And then they get paid dividends via the revenue that flows through the company. So they know for a fact, like, okay, we just got $100,000 from our publisher, split it up via dividends, everyone gets their share. And they're like, that's so fair. Like, that's so smart.
Yeah.
And then every game has its own company. So then you have this network of, it's very complicated tax work. I have no idea how that money flows in the best way. I just write the resolutions to give everyone their dividends so they get their money and get to go home and pay for groceries. But there's like those kind of cool setups. It's like I only learned about that because someone smarter than me at the accounting firm I work with alongside a lot of times was like, I've seen this before, let's try this. And then our client was like, that is the best idea. And now they have this super cool, equitable, it's almost like it's like a foundation while using corporations. It's like the smartest thing ever. But yeah, it's neat how you're right. Like lean on people who have niche knowledge about stuff and you just learn so much. It's so fun to see, like, talking to that person specifically. Like, he just knows so much about, I've even asked him questions like for my own taxes and he helped me a ton. Like, I was like, what if I do this? He's like, yeah, do that and you'll get like an extra $200 back. I'm like, okay, like that kind of, you'll never know because I can't Google that.
The taxes thing is like that has been such like an asset. And obviously, you can, and I do like pay my financial advisor, but he gives me like the friends and family rate. So it's like dirt cheap. But just being like, hey, I collected all the information. here you go, and like he just runs with it, and he's and like
Yeah.
I've over the years, like I've made like I've had my income's pretty variable, so I'll make different amounts like every year depending on like a myriad of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I've had years where it's like, oh, I know I made more than last year, but like I owed less, which I'm like, oh, that's great. And like taxes has never been too big of a problem for me because I always do. I am very aggressive about saving for my taxes. Like everything I make, like literally everything I make, I take 30% and I put to my taxes like immediately. But just being able to have like it all done for me and it not done through TurboTax, which like no shade if you use TurboTax. I used TurboTax for a long time. But TurboTax is like super evil because they literally lobbied to make sure that like taxes were hard to do so that they could continue to sell their product, which is TurboTax. So it's like, and again, it is a set number. Like I'm not shading anyone for using it, but like it's funny because a lot of people also don't know that. It's like, yeah, like they're like mad, like it's so upsetting what they've done to society. But yeah, it isn't, it's an easy way to do it because they lobbied to make sure that it's hard to do it the other way because it's on your own.
That's so annoying.
So yeah, just having the peace of mind. Not to mention too, like when I first started doing freelance and I had so many forms, just by way of it taking a long time, I literally would spend my entire day doing my taxes. And like it's only one day, but it's like the whole day I'm like, okay, line 18. And then they're like, do you, work from home? I'm like, yeah. They're like, do you want to claim this if you mess it up? That'd be bad. I'm like, you know what? Just keep it. I'm like, I don't want to, like, there'd be some stuff where I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, like, taking this to, and it's funny because my tax advisor was like, yeah, like, and actually, like, in a non-bad way, like, I don't want to scare anyone, but he's like, if you claim, like, office space or working from home, that's kind of an automatic, like, red flag to the IRS. Like, they're like, look into it more, but it's like, it is something that they definitely look at. So it's like, even though I've worked from home for, like, many years, I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about the desk ab or the stairs. Like, it's fine. I'll just charge it to the game. It's not a big deal.
Which is so annoying because
so
you're owed that
having
money,
someone
though,
who
right?
can do that.
Like, it sucks that
I know.
You should feel scared that the government should pay you that. But
Yeah, like I don't want to go to jail. That sounds expensive. Like I'm
not Martha
like,
Stewart.
Just keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm never gonna make it. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that a lot of life is much harder than it needs to be. But it is fortunate that through like communities and reaching out to people and exploring options and things, if we all just like work together, we can be like one functioning person thriving in society. And I believe in that, and I see it every day.
I agree. Oh my gosh. See, we talked about office and then government corruption and then best business practices, LLC formation. Can we talk about your wedding planning though? Because I love what you said in our message about the one thing you have planned so far. So you started planning your wedding. That's very exciting. How's that feel?
Yeah, it's I still feel like we haven't like really done it yet. This is the month, like we're like June, like throw June in the trash. It is SGF, and I'm like, SGF existing, even though it's not like insanely hard work, like we're really, we're just vlogging, like it's pretty chill. Like SGF feels to the month of June as like, if you've ever had that feeling where you have like, I can't do anything today, I have a meeting in 3 hours. That's how SGF feels. So I'm like, you know what, June, we're not really doing anything. Like we're just have this
meeting.
Nothing.
It's the 3 p.m. meeting right off of the year. Interesting.
Of the month. I'm like, you know what? We're just like, don't even worry about getting anything else done. Like just survive and like keep on trucking. And again, I'm kind of being a little bit overly dramatic with that because it's not that much work, but it's just like, it is a big thing that's like sitting there. So it's like, okay, whatever. So we like and there's so many other things in June too. Like our anniversary is in June, like his birthday's in June, Father's Day is in June. That's all like in 1 week. So I'm like, this is too much. The only thing I've done, and I still don't even really know what we're doing for our wedding because we've thrown around many ideas. There's like the zag of like we can do destination and it's only like 5 other people, but like we pay for everything. So then that's really fun and still somehow cheaper than a wedding in a traditional like, venue space. Yeah. Or we could do like something more traditional where it's like venue space, reception, like whatever many people. But the only thing I've looked into was there's a food truck that we really like. And I like they like do catering. So I was like, how much does it cost to like have a wedding with like, and I gave them a range of like on the low end 70, on the high end 150. I have no idea how many people I'm having at my wedding. Maybe less than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I emailed them and they didn't respond. I'm like, they didn't respond. I'm like, that's not a good sign. But like, let me text them. And I'm like, but also I kind of relate to that because I'm like, I too don't really respond to my emails. So like, you're kind of valid. I don't know. But yeah, they hit me back and they gave me their prices for that. Because I think I would love to do like a food truck because the food at weddings is always like pretty mid. It's like mid to like kind of okay.
I think food
like it's
truck
a goodish.
is genius idea. That's such a fun idea.
Because it's just like the food's gonna taste better. I'm like, it's not gonna look as aesthetic, but like, just don't take pictures.
I think it looks.
I
think
it.
it
You know,
kind of
don't
looks
post it. Like,
aesthetic.
who cares?
I think that's like really like cool and hipstery and like fun. It's just like posing in your really fancy dresses in front of the chill food truck with your like whatever. I don't know what. Do you want to spoil what the truck is, or are you keeping a surprise for your guests and stuff? Totally fair.
I think I'm gonna keep it close to. I'm gonna keep it close to the chest.
That's fair.
For
that's
the
fair.
thing, which and it's funny because on they're based in LA, but on SGF like they had a form like a survey, like, hey, like, what'd you think of the event? You know, what would you change? Like, did you feel like, you know, just like general like event stuff? And one thing they mentioned was like the food stuff, and they were like, anything you want to like see? And I was like, I gotta be honest, I gotta gatekeep this one. I don't want y'all to have this food truck. I'm like, I don't want you to have it. If I'm being honest, I could write it down, but like, I don't want to. But yeah, like, so we'll see. But the tricky thing with that is, which it's still possible to do, but so many like venues make it so that you have to use like all of their stuff. That's how they make a lot of money. They're like, okay, it's like you know, 3, 5, 10 grand to have our space. Oh, you want to eat? You got to go through us. That's another this many grand. You know, like, and that's kind of how they make their money.
Yeah.
So we'll have to find a space that would even allow for that, because a lot of spaces just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. And the other thing too, the other wrinkle, I mean, these are like good things, so I don't really want to like give it that negative connotation, but we definitely know we want a honeymoon in Japan. It's the only thing that we know about us getting married. And it's all going to be like one pot of money. So it's like, well, the less we spend on this wedding, the more we have for Japan.
The more crap you can buy in Japan and buy 4 suitcases.
Exactly. So it's a little tricky. We both agree that we care more about having a really fun, cool time in Japan than like having more lavish wedding. But also it's like, I'm sure there is like a, not breaking point, but like we have to figure out like, if we're sliding in that, what are we losing in each direction, right? Like, and what do we want to concede on? And we don't really know. I had another, again, I've just been throwing out like funky ideas. This one's not going to happen because again, we don't have the money to get a house out here. It's very, very expensive to get a house out here. But as a joke, but also I'm like, am I joking? Maybe not. I'm like, what if we just got married already on paper, right? Then we get a house, and then our wedding is like just at our house. And it's like, hey, don't just Venmo me some money so I can pay off this house. Which that is not going to happen. But like, just throwing out idea, you know what I mean? I'm like, that would be kind of cool. But it's like, no,
it's your Venmo email.
It's like, it's literally just like you're in it. Like, this is the house. Like, it's like, this is, we spent like why are we not anywhere else? Because we got this house. Like, I think that would be kind of fun. But again, we're probably not going to do that because it is so expensive to get a house. But it's like, hey, we're just 2 guys talking, you know, just kind of figuring out ideas. But we have to see what the hell we're doing. But I think we'll probably start thinking of that more firmly, like really thinking of stuff, probably like maybe even this weekend, because we have like a weekly meeting where we go over like stuff for like the house, like stuff between us. Like,
when we were at GDC. I think that's the cutest.
This is a very corporate episode. I'm like, and then I have my you know, we touch base on Sunday. It's
that
like,
is the biggest green flag,
for
though.
years.
Y'all weekly meet up and discuss and like get on the same page about everything and then move forward. That is the most. Yeah. You're getting married. You're gonna be married till you're 120. Green flag I've ever heard.
Thanks. Yeah, it is honestly like so useful. I know some people would be like, that's like the last thing in the universe that I would want to experience, and I get that, very valid. But it's like, hey, if we don't sit down and talk about what we're eating, like, I don't know what's going on and I don't know how to do anything. So it's like stuff like that. It's mostly like logistical stuff. Yeah. Stuff like looking at the calendar for the week. Like, hey, what's this week look like for you? Anything like abnormal? And it's like, oh yeah, like we have this thing, or like I have a friend that's in town. Like, can you meet for? And we just kind of figure that all out in that one day. Smart. I mean, we still like talk about logistics sometimes throughout the week, but like most of what's going on was like already discussed, which is really nice. So we'll probably and then we have like our personal goals too that we like go over. So I'm thinking we'll probably like talk a little bit about that this weekend and be like, hey, like, do we want to just like start this like right now? Do we want to set up like a separate time to like, and that's going to be like the trippy part of going from like the theoretical to like, what are we actually doing? And I'm like,
time to put the deposits
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, and then I feel like too, I'm like, even like something like getting my dress or outfit or whatever, I'm like, well, I don't want to pick that until I know. It's like everything's chained together. It's like that game chained together, right? It's like I don't want to pick that until I know what our venue is. But then when are we gonna know that? It's like, so it's all like weirdly tethered together. And then I'm also like, we should probably reverse plan this and think of the honeymoon first, because that's where like a lot of our money's gonna go.
Yeah.
And then see what's left, and then go from there. So it's all a little bit it's a lot to like I think grab onto, but we'll see. Isaiah says he's like actually very excited to like plan it, which I'm like,
that's fun.
Cool. And I feel like Isaiah's got like his head on straight with logistics. Not that I'm like a mess, but I'm like, I believe in
he's
you,
a coder.
and through that, I'm not worried about me. Yeah, it's like I think you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna be there, by your side, like CC'd on the emails. Like we're gonna figure it out. It should be fun. But yeah, it'll be, I guess, like not scary, but like the parts like I wonder when we're gonna make our first like actual like this is what we're doing though. Like when it starts to kind of take form, because it's all still very like 8 different ideas and like what direction are we gonna go in? I'm not sure how long it's gonna take to like narrow that down, but
it's kind of fun to plan the ideas that aren't based in how much it might cost. Like that's like the only stuff that Michael and I talk about, because we're not engaged or anything, but we still talk about like that would be fun. Like we like that. That's a fun idea, whatever. And so far, really the only stuff we've come up with is we know we're not doing a first dance because neither of us are dancers. So like why are we putting on a show for the people we love the most to pretend we're good at dancing? Like we're not going to do that. Like we just don't want to do that. And like moving away from conventional wedding tropes kind of thing. Like we just like, I don't need my dad to walk me down the aisle. I'll probably have my mom and my dad, like that kind of stuff. Like just move like,
oh, that's cute.
Those sort of
I like
ideas.
That. That's nice.
But we want to do, a first Mario Kart race, because literally that's us. Like that's what our relationship is. Our first one of our first dates, we just played Mario Kart for 8 hours and like got to know each other and chatted. So like it's better for that to be a spunky first thing we do together, we thought, than try to dance and we suck and we'll go spend $300 on dance lessons or some crap and we'll just be embarrassed the whole time and not feel good or whatever. Like I'd rather look forward to the weird thing when we walk into a room and everyone's like, yay, than now I have to perform and like be on my, those kind of in between.
It's definitely
decisions.
A performance.
It is a performance.
Yeah.
I'd rather it just be like a party, I guess, like more just fun, and not something I'm nervous for all day.
I know, that's the thing, and we probably will just do a very regular first dance, like just like, hey, put on a song, and then we just like middle school dance it out. Like I don't think we're gonna do anything elaborate or like take lessons or anything. Not that I'm against doing that, but like I'm guessing that probably is just gonna get trimmed out. I'm like, oh, that could be nice, but like, yeah, like it just seems like a lot of effort for not a lot of reward. But the one thing that I would be down to do, but it's like Isaiah's not gonna want to do this because he's already like, I'm not doing this. That would be like, that sounds really dangerous. Is there's this dance, like style of dancing called I might butcher it actually. I think it's called like quebradita or like the quebradora dances. They're like it's like a Mexican kind of dance, and there are these dances where it's like, if you've ever seen, you'll see them a lot at like maybe like sometimes quinceañeras and stuff like that. It's like you'll have like the guy and the girl, or like the lead and the follower, and the girl gets like thrown around all like crazily. It's like you get like spun and like flipped and stuff. And but here's the thing, I'm like, I think we could do it. You're like way bigger than me. Yeah. You're like fairly strong. Like we could totally do this. And he's like, I don't think I want to be doing that. I'm like, oh, but we could do it though, because I think those dances are so fun. It like, I'll send you like some links of them. Like they're like the most fun ever, but it is like, it would be a lot because it's like, okay, am I drinking before this though? Like it's a lot, and we're probably not going to do that for that reason. But I'm like,
yeeted
around. It'd be really fun. Yeah, the first yeet. It is honestly like, it is so cool. I will say, if you're not used to seeing the dances, like some people like are kind of like the sticker shock of like how specific of a kind of like, oh, like what's happening? Because it's not necessarily even like fully on rhythm. I mean, some of it is and some of it isn't, but it's a lot of just like, it's like, what if you took like the chaos of cheerleading with the passion of dancing. They're very fun. With the passion of dancing, yeah, they are very fun. But I'm like, I get it. Like, and we would have to definitely train for that because you could easily like crack your head on some of these dances.
It also sounds like a lot of work for
I'm like,
Isaiah,
I think we could do it.
But like, you just kind of get to be there and get tossed around.
Exactly. And I feel like, is that not our thing? Like, you're doing your thing, and I'm like, trying not to injure myself. I think ever since I fell though, holding just a box of donuts outside our apartment, maybe I'm not the most coordinated person. to do this lift, but
I've been
they would be
falling
fun.
like crazy. I've fallen so much lately. I was walking on my nan's backyard, and she's thinking about selling her house soon. It was funny because the inspectors came like the morning before I went over to visit her, and I was walking in her deck, and my foot went through one of the pieces of wood, and luckily I caught myself. But I was probably a few inches, like if I had bent it wrong way, from completely shattering my leg. It was like a cartoon when it just goes and they just go through, like a piano lands on them right after sort of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
that's I feel like the amount of people that I know who have like fallen through structures is more than zero is the thing. I feel like it's a little too easy to have that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably nothing too elaborate, but yeah, I think our big thing is going to be seeing like what we can like what we care about the most, and then like working backwards from there. So like I think we both really care about. I forget. Was it? I think food is like pretty high. If we do a big music thing, I do really care about music because I love music. But yeah, like stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just gonna be. It's an interesting project because it's like I've done a lot of things in my life, like like moved a lot, picked things, planned vacations, but like I think there's so many like moving parts and components to it because it's like an event, and inherently it's like how often are you doing actual event planning? For me, like never. So I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see what we end up doing. But yeah, it should be a good time, and it's that classic like far enough away that it's like, well, we can kind of just like figure it out because we're kind of looking to get married probably like in the second half of next year. So it's like, okay,
You got time.
we'll figure it out.
Are you gonna have a Jack and Daxter wedding topper?
No, I think the cringiest thing we would maybe do is like we have those little Funko Pops of ourselves, and you can get them like all
That's
wedding-fied, and it's like
cute.
those are kind of cute. It's like, yeah, it's like cheesy, but like they're kind of cute. I don't know what we would I don't know. So maybe we do something like that, or like nothing like on there. I don't know. I don't really
Are
need
wedding
like I do want us to
toppers
cut a
even a
cake.
thing?
I think ideally.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen a wedding
I don't
topper
know. I
in
feel
a
like not as
while.
much anymore.
Yeah.
I would like us to like do the like cutting of the cake, but I don't necessarily need it to be like. I definitely think we'd do the small, nice cake, big sheet cake kind of thing for dessert.
So smart.
And that's really more just to mark that we're having dessert. Like I know some people do the like save the cake in the freezer for like a year, but like I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry if this is like y'all in the chat or anything. Like I'm not trying to be rude. I think that's kind of that grosses me out. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to eat a year-old cake, and I understand that like it is preserved and it is totally safe to eat and it is fine. And I get why some people might do that. I don't want to eat a 1-year-old cake. Like I just don't. I just don't.
That's fair. I think my brother did that. I think he's since eaten it, but he went. His wedding was in Mexico, and I didn't even get any of his cakes. I was so
Nice.
drunk. It was insane how drunk I got at his wedding because tequila, man. Oh, Mexican tequila is just I of all the liquors, I really like tequila, which is interesting because it's usually everyone's least favorite.
I love tequila too.
I love tequila.
Oh yeah, I love tequila. Tequila's so fun. Do you do it with the salt and the lime, or you just go like?
No, it's salt and
Straight
lime.
away.
I'm still a bit of a baby. I still
love
need
the
the
salt
salt
and
and
lime.
lime. But I also just love
Here's the thing.
spicy food, and it just having tequila while you're eating something spicy is I think is one of the yummiest combos of food. Like same as beer and wings, it's the same kind of energy. Something insanely spicy, and then like a margarita or like another tequila style drink. It's so delicious.
Yeah. Two things. One, if you can, I slacked you like God, what is YouTube called? A YouTube short of like what this dance looks like. And it can look like anything, but this is one of the more extreme versions. So it's like this is the kind of thing I would want. It's like insane. Two, yeah, I love tequila. I'll put it in the Twitch chat too, and the Discord chat if people want to tab over if they have tabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love the salt and the lime, and for me, it's not even like I know people call them the training wheels. Like you can't take it straight up. Why would I want to? I love salt, lime. Good. Tequila
Delicious.
good. Like why would I want to deprive myself of salt and lime?
It's because
Like it doesn't make any
people
sense.
buy
Like for the clout?
the really
No.
cruddy tequila at their local liquor store, and tequila is like the one thing if I get it, I care enough. Like vodka, I'll buy the cruddy vodka. Like I don't, because it's getting mixed with cranberry juice or some juice anyways, so like you don't really taste it. But tequila, like I'll spend an extra like $20 above what I thought like a normal price thing for good tequila, because I find there's a bigger margin of like yummy, whereas with vodka I kind of just like it's just vodka but in a more fancy glass bottle. honestly. I've never had the tequila with like the worm or the scorpion or what that kind of stuff in it.
Oh, I think that's mezcal, right? I never
think
remember
so.
what has the worm. Tequila can have the worm too, though, I think.
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know my liquors as well as maybe I should. I also just think like, I mean, obviously I'm maybe biased in the sense that I am Mexican, so it's like I've been around a bunch of Mexican drinks before. But like I mean, again, maybe it's conditioning. I like our food, obviously. But like our drinks are also like it's just fun how many things are spicy because I love that we make stuff that's like not supposed to be spicy because even like our candy is spicy. And I remember telling Isaiah this and he's like, your candy's spicy. I was like, yeah. Now I'm not actually a big fan of Mexican candy personally, but I'm like, yeah, you gotta like try. And Isaiah loves spice too, so I'm like, you have to try it because it's definitely like it's an experience, like literally everything. And like having like I love like a good drink with like the spicy rim on like a cocktail. I think that's so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what we do. It depends on really how traditional we go. Because if we go like pre-traditional, where it's like venue with like reception stuff, like we can do a lot of fun stuff, like have like the specialty cocktail of like the Bruce or whatever, and it's like a cocktail named after my cat. Like I think those things are really fun. So we'll see, but yeah, should be a good time once we. I'm excited to also do the like. If we do go like a more traditional, like where it's a venue and not just like a destination thing, like getting to like shop that around, it's like, yeah, like wine and dine me a little bit, it's like what's this venue like? I'm like, you kind of get to just I enjoy looking at that kind of stuff, like I always have, like even apartment hunting, like exactly. Like I'm always getting sold to when I don't want to, so it's like getting to go and like now the power's with me, the consumer. There's something very exciting about that.
I've always wanted to do, and they give you
and I like
like
looking
10
at what could be,
types of cake. They're like, here's our marzipan with whatever, and you just like eat every type of cake. That's like a whole afternoon. I've always wanted to do that. It looks so lit.
Hell yeah. You can just tell people you're doing that, and they don't have any way to tell you that you're not engaged.
You're giving me naughty ideas because I've never thought of that, but it's 100% true as long as you just show up with your partner.
You can, and maybe, I mean, honestly, like, you're kind of just getting a head start, really. If those bakeries are still open, like, why not? Like, if I had a favorite bakery, like, I would totally be like, oh, yeah, let's have them. It's kind of like how we felt with the food truck, where we're like, oh, we both love this food truck. Like, let's have that. And then we were thinking, like, if we do end up going the food truck route, it's like, and they have 2 trucks that they, like, operate in LA. It's like, should we get, like, the second one so there's, like, it's easier for them to make it? Like, should we get a second, like, different kind of food so people have more options? And I'm like, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't know if I want to give people options. Because then you end up getting people really skewed where it's like, okay, like, if you have, like, 2 types of food and one is more, like, straightforward, I feel like people will always pick the one that's more, like, safe and known. So I'm like, I think it's just, like, you get what you get. Like, and as long as we have, like, vegetarian and, like, dietary stuff, like, that is what it is. But I also, as a joke but not a joke, I'm like, if we want to give options, I would love to do I'm like, let's just get the fucking hot dog vendors that exist in all of LA and San Francisco. San Francisco also has them, where it's like there's outside of like the Rams Stadium. Genuinely some of the best hot dogs I have. I'm like, put some of those out there and like we're done. They serve faster than anyone I've ever seen. So they're gonna get through this crowd quick.
People start drinking. Like a hot dog is such an easy grab. Shove it down your gullet, keep drinking sort of thing. Perfect.
So we'll see. It should be fun, but
that's very exciting.
I'm curious what, even though I'm involved, I'm curious what we're gonna do because I genuinely like do not know.
That's fair. No, that's really exciting. I'm excited for you guys. That sounds very fun.
Thanks.
And I know you have to go check out your new office soon. Do you want to maybe just chat that poll that Ben posted and your opinion on such, and then we can call it a day? Ben posted a poll on Twitter, and the controversial question was, who loves their favorite game more, Janet with Jak and Daxter or Ben with Final Fantasy VII? And do you want to? What's the poll at right now, Janet?
The poll currently is there's 21 hours left because he uses the default 24, which is fair. Honestly, I'm starting to catch up a little bit. So Ben is in the lead with 63%.
Yeah,
I have 24%, and then 13% is just see results. Honestly, like that, I am not shocked that I'm losing, but I was initially shocked by how big the gap. Because like when the poll first dropped,
I voted,
it was 20 people.
I voted for you, and the thing was.
Oh, thank you.
It was like 90%.
It was like 70-20. I was like, I'm getting cooked here. And here's the thing: the more I think about it, and this was inspired because I went to I was streaming, funnily enough, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah.
And someone in my chat said, they asked this question, like, do you think like I forgot how they phrased it, but they basically said that, do you think Ben loves Final Fantasy 7 more than you love Jack and Daxter? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, I think, I still don't know the truth. Like, I do think I'm getting a little more sold on it being Ben, but at the same time, I'm like, I think Ben dotes on it more, but I don't think that means he loves it more. So that's kind of where I'm like, well, I think from how we talk, I do think Ben is the easy pick. But I'm like, well, just because, like, and I don't know, Ben can be critical of Final Fantasy 7, but, like, I feel like I'm maybe a little bit more accepting of the ways that Jack and Daxter's maybe, like, not everyone's favorite. I get, if you don't want the camera, like, that's valid. You know what I mean? That's like,
you already had an example ready to go. That shows it. You're like, the camera, for example.
Yeah, so, yes, for example. And I think that's probably the only ding I'd really give to the first one. The second one has a lot of problems, but the first one I think is pretty good, minus maybe, like, the camera. But in Ben's defense, even though, like, I didn't play the original Final Fantasy 7, so I can't speak to the quality of that game.
Yeah.
But I do think Final Fantasy 7 is a more revered game, so maybe, like, his game is also just a better game than mine, potentially. So, I'm not really sure.
An
but
800 million 3-part series reboot most recently. So it's also very easy to be like, I love this game right now because it's getting so much care and attention, whereas Jack and Daxter's getting nil.
Yeah. And then that's the thing too. People mention one thing in the replies that people brought up is that Ben will talk about Final Fantasy 7 anytime he can, and he, like, forces it into conversations, which I don't know. I never feel like we're talking about something and then Ben's like, "Have you heard about Final Fantasy 7?" Like,
I don't think that happens. I think that's a made up thing that people envision that Ben does, because I don't see that either. And I think he notices that people say that. He's like, I don't do that. He doesn't like that people say that.
I did appreciate someone, Chris over on Twitter said, didn't he name his kid Chocobo Hansen, which was very, very funny. So the replies have been good. Yeah, and then Twitch chat says 7 is more historically important of a game. And I think that kind of does help maybe weigh it, but it's like, I don't know. I'm like, should I be talking about Jack and Daxter more? Because I feel like I talk about it kind of a lot. I mean, maybe not on the podcast, because, again, how relevant is it? But, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I bring it up a lot. I'm, like, in the Echo community. I'm following that one account. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm pulling some weight here. Maybe no one loves anything more than Ben loves Final Fantasy 7, which might be true.
I
don't know.
But it's also easier to feel that way too, because we've gotten 2 deepest dives on Remake and Rebirth with his childhood friends, where he can be very spunky and himself in his purest form as he talks about his childhood favorite thing. So I think you're going up against a lot, Janet, in this comparison. Honestly,
he has more lore. His game has more lore. Like, if I knew everything about Jack and Daxter, I would still only know, like, 12 things, because that's because the game doesn't have a lot, like, in it. But it's like, there's not, like, deep dives in the like, I mean, there is a deep dive because we have the deepest dive on Jack and Daxter, which you can check out, which I host, which I'm like, I did a deepest dive on Jack and Daxter also. Like, again, I don't mind losing, because this actually might be true, because it is true by a jury of our peers. But, like, let's get a little more competitive. Like, put some respect on the name, because, like, and I don't have the tattoo yet, but I do plan to get, like, also a Jack and Daxter tattoo. And I don't think Ben would get tatted up for Final Fantasy.
I don't think he would. I don't think he would get a tattoo for anything.
I don't think so either. I think I've never asked Ben, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm sure Ben's not, like, judging people with tattoos, but I feel like he is very not a tattoo guy. That's, like, the vibe I get. I don't know. I think he would. I think he, like, doesn't want
I don't think
tattoos.
he looks down on them. I just don't think he wants one.
Yeah, I think he looks down on it for himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I think he would, like, I think he's, like, not into that idea for himself.
I think he doesn't think he's cool enough for a tattoo, which is almost a compliment to everyone with tattoos.
That's what I feel like he would feel, but, like, I don't know. Patreon goal, like, we all get matching tattoos. Like,
the little arrows somewhere hidden on our body somewhere.
Yeah,
he has been public and said no one ever get a min-max tattoo. I've seen him post that. He's like, please, no one ever get one, which is such a...
Oh yeah, I think that would, because Ben is so, like, I think he's one of the few genuinely humble people. The only thing I think he's a little bit like, oh, come on, Ben, like, is like, I don't know, the part of him being good at his job, I think he kind of downplays that a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing that he's genuinely very humble about, that I think is very valid, is, like, he really is like, I don't mind you guys, and that's why I think is what makes it feel genuine, where he's like, oh yeah, he's all in for, like, promoting min-max. He's like, yeah, if you can, please support. Like, we're doing this thing. And he's like very comfortable repping that, which I really respect. But he's also very much like, please don't it don't gotta be that deep. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. And I think it's a good balance where he's like,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm down to promote my stuff. Obviously, I want you here. But like, if you can't be here, like, please don't even pull up. Like, whether that's financially, whether that, and I think it just like, even though it wouldn't be like he's involved, I think if someone got a min-max tattoo, he'd be like, oh my God, like I don't want you to have a thing I made on you.
I think it would stress him out. Yeah.
Yes. Like he'd be like, no, like it's not worth it. Like, even though it's not like it's like dangerous or anything, but like,
yeah,
I think that's how he would feel about it. So
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I
think it is maybe an extension of the parasocial to him in a way or something.
I think you're right, Toro.
Like, don't tattoo a thing from my mind. Like,
don't tattoo the thing I made up. But that would be your first tattoo,
Yeah,
Jack and Daxter. That would be your choice.
Yeah, I've actually been waiting to get tattooed specifically. Well, one, I think it's always good to wait more than maybe you might want to, just to like really double check. Even though I also kind of go back and forth in this because I kind of regret not getting. There was like one of those like flash tattoo sales at like a shop in my old neighborhood where it's like, hey, Friday the 13th, like $13 for a tattoo.
Ooh.
And I really regret not going with my friend at the time, Allie, and being like, what if we both just got like a little flash tattoo? Like, I think that would have been so fun. And I'm like, I should have did that. Like, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
So I kind of go back and forth. Like, I think when it's something like small and chill, I think there is something really fun about having like a not that meaningful but fun memory tattoo. But then I also think it's definitely worth like taking your time and like investing in the piece and blah blah. So like, but I've been waiting to get a tattoo specifically because I know some onsens in Japan you can have a tattoo, and I want to be able to go everywhere in Japan and not worry about my tattoo. So that's one of the reasons I haven't gotten a tattoo yet.
Decision, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also waiting to, and this is again not like, I think dyed hair is like super cool. I've wanted to dye my hair forever. I just never have. But now that I'm so close to like getting married and things, I'm like, I just want to stick with my regular hair color. And then after I get married, it's like, I'm gonna get the tattoo. I'm gonna get the dyed hair, because it's like, it doesn't really matter if I end up liking it long term, because it's not like I don't know, I can just change it. Versus like, oh, I don't know, I'd want to have like, I'm set on how I look now. Let me get married, get some nice photos, and then
get some pics.
You can be like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have. Green was not your color, and then it's like, now we know. You know, it's like later when I'm older.
Yeah, I've always wanted to dye my hair pink.
I'm excited
for
that.
Like kind of like a pastel pink. I've always wanted to do that.
That'd be cute.
Yeah, I just have never sent it. I used to do highlights in my hair. My hair used to be. This is like the first time since I've been a kid where this is like my hair color. I used to always do highlights, and then like not so crazy that like you could see my roots grow out or anything, but it definitely made my hair look 1,000 times more blonde. And then I just reached the point where I was like, I just don't want to spend like $200 every time I come in here.
That's the thing too.
I don't want to
where
do
I'm
that
like,
anymore.
I'm like also waiting to really set aside the money to be like, okay, I have 1 year of colored hair ready to go. And I probably wouldn't do a full dye for that reason, out of just like part like the, you know, potential like damaging of your hair, and then also part the price. So I probably would do like a dip dye, or like the kind of like front pieces. That's or cute. Like an under dye or something where it's like it's like a little fun, but not like the full commitment to it, but
like the roots and everything.
Yeah, as dramatically. But I'm pretty much just gonna like, and that's what's nice about like finding stuff that like you kind of go back to that, you know, our point of the finding like people that can help you out or whatever. Like I like love the salon I go to like here in LA, and I'm like, this is the first time I've had a salon like in my life, because like for most of my life it was like like when I was a kid, it's like we just got my hair cut at home, and then I went to like a random place in my neighborhood, and then like I would just like go to Great Clips, and it's like you know, I'm just kind of like going around, and now it's like I have the salon, they specialize in curly hair, it's great. It's expensive as all hell, but it's like really nice. The vibe is really nice too. So I'm just like slowly saving up for my haircuts every couple months. And I'm like, they also do dyeing and stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to have y'all could cook. Like, I'm going to tell you, you know, so I'm going to show like some Pinterest stuff, like some of what I want and what I'm thinking. But like, it's nice to have like a place where I'm like, well, what do you think would look good? Because I'm kind of like that with like food too, where I'm like, I'll eat almost anything, because I feel like if a chef who's good is like, yo, this hits, I'll be like, yeah, fuck it, let's try it. Yeah. And I feel like with hair color and stuff like that too, I'm like very open to being like, well, what do you think will look good? Like, you're the expert. Like, I get that it's like, it is my like body and self, but it's like, if it's within a spectrum that like I'm down for, like you do the fine details because like you would know more than I would.
I like doing that too. I had a hairdresser I loved, but he moved to Toronto. But he was my hairdresser for so long, and then he was also like a drag queen, and I would sometimes go to his like local shows and stuff. So, and he,
Oh, that's so fun.
He knew what was cute, right? So I would just go, "What do you think?" Like I wouldn't really come with stuff.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
I love
"Should
doing
go
that.
shorter," and I just trusted him. And I haven't found a new hairdresser since he moved, and I'm hurting for it because I need to bring. Oh my gosh! Like I was crying because I miss him so much because he went to Toronto. I need to bring like the Pinterest things. I need to explain like what I've done with my hair in the past and what I don't like and what I do like and all that stuff. Whereas with him, I just walk in and I was like, "Should we go short?" And he's like, "Yes," and he would just like do it for me. I was like, "Yeah."
It's like finding a good therapist. Like like finding like good experts is like so key. And I think and there's like that classic, like some people get really dark about like the existence of the internet and they're like, we're more disconnected than ever despite being connected. It's like, okay, calm down. Like some of that's true, but like calm down. But one thing that's really fun is just like, if you just find like kind of that trusted, like almost like that verified person in your life. And like for me, like I found this salon, like, which like this, I don't really care about gatekeep. It's Virgo Salon downtown. If you're interested in it, I really like it.
Trucks.
That's
it.
Yeah. Like just specifically because it's like I might use it. Like I kind of want to just like I'm holding this close to my chest. I've mentioned the food truck before. You gotta if you consume all my content, you probably know the truck that I'm talking about. But if you you gotta be everywhere. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, with Virgo Salon, like I found them because like a poet that I follow who lives in LA, she has curly hair and she like tweeted out about it like, oh, this is my salon, and I was like, let me try to go there. I'm like, okay, you seem like I like your hair, so I'll just do that. And like really just finding that is so key. So maybe you can just find like hair out in the wild that you like and be like, hey, like I love your hair. Like, what are you gonna tell? And I had that with like I had met a woman recently at like one of my friends put together like a girl brunch, and we like I was talking to her and her hair is like gorgeous. Like her name's Kendall. She has like this gorgeous red, like also her tattoos were also amazing. And literally it was just like her life copy paste. I was like, drop the tattoo artist, drop the salon. Like I'm set on my salon, so I think I'll probably just stick to Virgo. But it's like, yeah, just finding. It's like I don't want to think, I don't want to research, I don't want to trial and error. Like let me find someone who did that already.
Yeah.
And you forge the path. Like when you walk out in the snow, you step into the footprints that are there. Like
she did the work. You need to
walk the path that's been forged for you.
Exactly. Now, that's a good idea. I like how you phrased it, hair out in the wild. Next time I see someone with hair that I really like, I would be inclined, because I love giving, like, when somebody, you can tell they really tried with their outfit or, like, what they got going on. They have lots of jewelry. I always give them a little compliment, because I just know either they're a little nervous because they pushed it. They're like, maybe this is a little bit out of my range, and I'm a little nervous that I tried this hard. Or they're like, hell yeah, I'll take a compliment. Thanks, girl. Like, I was walking, and this girl had, the pink hair. She looked so cute. And she had this flowy, like it was like a fairy, and she was going to brunch. She had to be, because she was given brunch. And I was walking by with like my pajama shorts, essentially, with like a grubby tee. I was like, you look so freaking cute. And she's like, thank you. And I could tell she was like the nervous style. But I should have, like, she had the hair I wanted. I should have also been like, and also, where is your hair? Like, stop walking and tell me where your salon is.
I know. I love that. I feel like, in a non-shade way, I feel like women are just so good at that. And like, it's something that I've seen like men online talk about, like, we should do that. And I'm like, yeah, you guys should. Like, not that I've never seen like men give each other compliments, but I think women have such a camaraderie about that. It's like the classic, the girl bathroom where it's like, oh, women that are drunk in the bathroom. It's like the greatest community of all time. And like, I went to like the restroom like a year ago at some bar. Like everyone had been drinking. Like all the women in there were like fairly drunk, and like the vibes were just so good. And when I like left the bathroom, and I didn't even actually like super directly talk to any of them. Like I just like use the bathroom and I washed my hands and I left. But when I came back and like I was hanging out with Blessing at the time, and I told Blessing, I'm like, you'll never know what that's like. And like I'm so sad about that because it's so cool.
It's
like
true.
It's just, and I saw like a TikTok of some woman recording of like which I might buy this eventually if I feel like getting kitschy, but like Betsy Johnson, like the funky designer who has like all the really loud bags and shoes. Like this woman had a Betsy Johnson phone purse, and like it was just these women in the bathroom being like, oh, so how does it work? And like one of them called the girl with the phone purse, and she's like, and see, like I feel it ringing, and then I can answer it. And it's like, I don't know, that's so fun. And like I just love having like a fun little time with people, and I feel like women are just so good at enjoying those little things.
And but
yeah, I like giving the compliments as well when I can.
So honest too, because I remember one time I was in the bathroom with my little sister, and we came out, and like there was also two girls having like a debate about something, and it was to do with some guy. And then they immediately turned to us. They're like, "We need to ask you a quick question." And we're like, "Shoot!" Like they just needed an impartial third party.
Yeah.
It's like, should she go with this guy who did this tonight, or should she text this guy who she likes a little bit more? And we're like, text the guy you like a little bit more. Like he just happens to be here. Like blah blah. And the friend's like, "Told ya." And she's like, "Okay." And we like might have just changed the trajectory of her night, but like they want our opinion. Like,
Yes.
that's like those kind of moments are just fuel for me. It's like, yeah, it makes you feel so human and good and happy. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Ugh, that also could be its own podcast, but
Girl bathroom
it's just
chats.
just good times.
Yeah.
I just love good times. And I feel like, too, where we are societally, because, you know, like, the culture of womanhood is definitely not perfect, right? But I think a lot of women know that, especially as adults, and are like, hey, like, you know, maybe they have had like some bad experiences growing up with like bullying or other things. And I think there's such an active push right now for like women to support other women. And obviously like that can have its flaws too. Like it's not like that's also a perfect system, but there's like that. I think there's a lot of women that are like almost like unpacking that like generational trauma of like, like, oh, I wish I had this growing up, and like, yeah, let's like all band together and like be friends and help each other out and all this stuff. Like, I don't know, like the vibes are just really good right now, I feel like, but maybe I'm biased in thinking that we're always in a way on the cusp of something. Like obviously like progress is not linear, but like I think everyone's just very like, yeah, like we should do this more. And that's kind of like what I had when I went out with like my friends to like brunch, where like a lot of them were like my age or older. And they're like, yeah, like we need to do this more. Like, you know, it can be so tough, like forming these relationships, like older, like as you get older, and like obviously we all have our own things going on, our own lives, but like there's just like such an excitement around that, and I think that's very cool. So
I've noticed,
yeah, you will find your stylist.
Yes, thank you. I hope I will. I've noticed that too professionally, is like there's a lot of effort with women lawyers like 10 years older than me to put the ladder down, which is like literally helped me so much. It's insane. Like it's getting me job opportunities. It's getting me in rooms I never would have been in before. It's gotten me interviews for jobs that I probably would have never been considered for previously. Like it's crazy. I had one lawyer who's like the main IP lawyer for this massive law firm in my city. She's so busy. She's like a partner at the firm, does everything like IP related for the entire firm, is like the head of the IP department. She runs all these like societies. She travels constantly. It loops me in on so much stuff. And she just like, I met her back when I was in first year, and she still thinks about me and chucks me and CCs me on stuff. She's like, you might like this. And there's like so much of that. It's the nicest thing ever. And all I can do is just like, now I'm kind of at that point in my life where like younger women going to law school right now who like games too are reaching out to me for like coffee chats, and I'm like, I will talk to you over coffee for 10 hours, like done. Like I can never say no to somebody who's like, I like what you do, can I talk to you? I'm like, yup, let's go get a beer, let's do whatever. I need to do that just because of how much it was done for me. Like you can never take that kind of stuff for granted, because it literally will change what you end up doing. People think it's like, oh, it's just a coffee. It's like, no, I'll think about her now all the time. And the next time someone's like, oh, do you know someone in law school might be interested in, literally the other day I had this coffee with this adorable lover. Like we like talked about Baldur's Gate for an hour and then got to the law stuff after. Like that's like, she was just a good time, had fun. And then later on I was having a meeting with like this law clinic I used to work for, and they're like, oh yeah, we're like running a nonprofit now, but we're having a hard time finding one else that I think would be interested. I was like, I know exactly who. And I gave him her name, and apparently she's doing it with him now. Like you cannot underestimate how important that kind of stuff is. It's huge. It's so good. And it gives me
I mean, that's
fuzzies.
like a big part. Yeah, like even, you know, in a more generalized way, because unfortunately there's only so many women in the game industry, but you know, I think all of us are also very much banded together. And like that was a big thing of like when I first, like I met Sage Ryan like at the Kind of Funny Studio launch, but like she hit me up at the beginning of the year, was like, hey, like let's chat about like your career and stuff. And like, and it's funny because I think she's technically younger than me, I think, but like we're both kind of in the same space, and like she's like done her own thing with like Pixel Circus and everything, and she's like, yeah, well, I just like wanted to hit you up and like talk to more like creators in LA and women in LA, and like I think that's very cool, and like to me that's a very like concentrated effort that I've seen from like women in my industry as well. Trish has like offered the same kind of thing, and like Andrea I can always hit up, and like it's really fun to get to like work with those people. And like I think while any inherent collaboration has like a reach out aspect, I do think there's like, I don't know, there can be like that extra layer of like when it's like women to women of like, yeah, like let's come together and like make content and like really try to work on pushing the industry forward when it comes to like who's on camera, but also who's behind the scenes and who's in front of the scenes as well, and like the importance of having both and like working towards that. But yeah, with the networking thing in general, I mean, like I was talking about this the other day with someone about like that's why like I go to the JW at the end of like all these events, and it's like I think a lot of people, especially like maybe fans who are like in people's defense, like it's also like part of how we talk about it, where it's like, oh, you get drinks and like, yay, it's fun and you get to meet up with people, and like, you know, I know Ben's like, oh, you can like see developers and like tell them how much you like their game, and like I think that's also speaks to like Ben's sensibilities of like wholesomely trying to like give people props. For me, like my sensibility is like I'm gonna hang out here because like there might be a job here that I don't know, and it's not like there's a direct job there, but like I might meet you and a few years later you get to do something that can like swing back in a way that can like boost my career or boost like what I have going on. And it's not to say that like it's all purely transactional, but it's like you just never know how like the value of having a network means that you have people to like toss to or pull from. Like, and I had that with like one of my like peers in the industry was talking to me about like me getting into consulting, and he's like, oh, how did you do it? And I told him a little bit about like how I got into it and what I do, and I'm like, literally just start telling people you like consult, and like you never know what's going to come your way, because like some of my gigs have just been people know I do this work, they can't do it for whatever reason, they pass it to me, and it's like that is what community is about. It's like you like hang out and you're cordial and you're helping each other out, and it's like as things pop up, you're like, oh, this person would be perfect for this, or oh, I heard about this for this thing, or like, I can't offer you this now, but like maybe later. And it's like that is like the strength of having that network, and like you never know how it's going to come in handy, like whether it's, you know, like a gig or a tattoo artist or a, you know, even something like knowing about like you know, I've seen like my friends on Instagram be like, oh, I'm moving here, does anyone know anyone? I'm like, oh my god, I actually do. And it's like you can just like, that's so valuable, because again, like not everyone can do everything at once like on their own, and like getting to lean on people like helping out a little bit. I mean, it's like that little I feel like on a optimistic side, like we really all like you know the end of like the Grinch, where like all the little whoos are like singing their song. It's like you can really form that like over time, and I think that's really cool and like super useful and like really exciting. Like I know everyone's different, but for me, like I love getting to like put people onto stuff or like help out. Like that's why like whenever I'm on Twitter and I see jobs, like I retweet like every job I see, and like I'm not a developer, but like I'm like, this studio's hiring this whatever. Like it's so cool to like, I don't know, get to see people do their thing. And I'm also like just a firm believer on like there's so much space in things that like I know like statistically if every single human being made a Twitch channel today, maybe the industry could crash on itself, but like I know not everyone's gonna do that. So I've never like, I don't know, been intimidated or cared about like more people doing Patreon or more people doing whatever. I'm like, so many people would have to fill this to burst. Like, and it's so hard to do any of these things. It's like, like let's like everyone can try and should try to do it. Like I do think it's easy to get discouraged on like, well, the industry is declining and like da da da. I'm like, shit is always on fire. Like just do shit. And if you fucking fail, who cares? Like, I don't know. At least you know like what happened instead of like just pining. But I'm also like a hippie, so that's very specific to my perspective on things.
No, I completely agree on that. It's like you're gonna be a skeleton in at least 100 years from now anyways. So do something, have fun with it, make sure you're financially stable while you're doing the fun thing you like, of course.
Like you gotta live, but like I'm also too like, you know, and I'm sure we're gonna like wrap it up because we've already been going long, even though I don't got any shit to do because I work for myself and it's like just like chill Monday for me. But like I've been really enjoying like, and you know, we talked about this a bit on the exclusive hootenanny that appears at some point ? I forget how that gets waved out to people, but but we talked about like being 30 and stuff, and like the ways like I am into being 30 and like having this be like a new era. But now that I am in kind of like the perfect spot of, okay, like I'm older, I kind of know what's going on. You know, I have this like very established relationship. I don't have kids yet. I'm kind of just like hanging out. Like I'm enjoying so much, like kind of entering what I'm kind of calling my like side quest era. I'm like, just start doing shit. Like, I'm like, I want to start taking more class. Like we have to get our camera fixed because the one we had turns out it might be broken. So we'll see. But like, I really want to get into like bird watching. I'm like, this is Pokemon Snap, but in real life, that sounds awesome. I'm like, yeah, let me do that. I'm like, I got like some stuff to like knit. I'm like, let me like try to make my own bags. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like, let's just start having fun, because I feel like, and I love what I do. Like, I like my work. So it's not like I don't have fun doing my work, but like, outside of that, I think it's always, no matter how cool or whatever your work is, it's always good to have stuff outside of that. So it's like, yeah, like instead of just like working and doing laundry, it's like, let's have some fun. Like, let's like learn a new skill or like check out a thing. And like, I don't know. I think that's very like fun. And you can, within reason, do that like at any time. It's like, we have free will. It's like, let me go fucking take some classes or like start drawing cars again or something. Like, I don't know. It's fun.
I know. I used to do that so much more when I was a kid. Like, even, I was just going to say the drawing example. I used to draw so much, and I was getting kind of good at it, and then I just stopped because I was tired from school.
I feel you look
whatever.
like you can draw.
I used to be.
Like, you look like secretly, like you could like draw like a cat, and I'd be like, that cat looks pretty good. And you'd be like, yeah, you know, it's not anything.
Cats and dogs, I used to paint. Like, I painted and drew a lot. So like there's certain things you did a lot of. So like I've painted so many cats and dogs that like I can kind of just do them really quick. But like if someone was like, draw a fire hydrant,
that's so
right
exciting.
Now, I would be like, like I wouldn't know, you know, like I'm not good at, or like a human pose. I'm crap at humans. I would really like to be good at drawing people. And I remember I was getting the anime books from the art store and like how to do poses and all that kind of stuff. And I was even doing an art class and stuff like that with like actual people come in and pose and you draw them, and I was having a lot of fun. And then I just got too busy, and I was like, you're right, I need to do more side quests. And like if something piques my interest, just like follow that thread, because that's also how you make friends in your 30s too. A lot of people are like, I'm so lonely in my 30s. Like, how do you meet people? We don't have, you know, school to meet up every day. It's like, it's hobbies, literally hobbies is the way you make friends in your 30s. Find something you think is cool and go there, and there'll be people eventually who you're like, I want to use part of the life I have to live hanging out in your presence.
Yeah, but like I was literally talking about like, because and me and Isaiah like both want to like do that kind of stuff. So like we're taking an ASL class together because I'm like, I've always wanted to learn.
That's
I've never learned anything like with ASL, and it was funny because we just did like occupations, and then like our teacher like does a thing where like she'll teach us like a bunch of words in like a category, and then she'll like ask us some like questions, and then we have to answer like an ASL. And I was the first one to go for. She's like what's like your job? And I was like, I sat there for like it was probably like 30 seconds, but it felt like 3 minutes, because not only, I'm like, first of all, not only can I not answer this in ASL, what is my job? What's the quickest way? And I was like,
you don't even know it, Adam.
No, I had no idea what to say. I was like, how do I say what my job is? I went with writer at first, and then like at the end of the class, like when like there was dead time, I was like, I went up to her and I was like, how like job, like, and then I just said, like, I said critic, and I spelled it out like with the finger spelling, and then she showed me how to say critic. And then it was fun too, because like somebody else later in the class had like, because we like, oh, what's your dream job? And I'm like, my job, like my job's my dream job. And then somebody had like video gamer was their like dream job.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, oh, we secretly have stuff in common, but you don't know because I didn't know how to say my job.
Oh.
But through that, and then Isaiah's taking classes before, like in college or something, like we were able to like, we were like working while we were like waiting for like another group activity, and we were trying to like say your job in ASL, and like we eventually like put it together, and it was really fun. And we're like,
so
and then we like
cute.
spelled out your name, like me and Isaiah were talking, we're like Haley's job, and then we were like doing it and stuff, and it was
so cute.
Yeah, it was fun.
I love that.
Yeah, so I've been, I don't know when I'm gonna need to like, but like if I ever need to be like, this is Haley, like she's like with, okay, what did we like, video game IP lawyer person. Video game IP lawyer.
Lawyer is like this?
It's like an L like on your hand, like it's like, I think it slides down.
Lawyer.
There's a chance it might be a jump. Yeah.
That's
well, it's like
cool.
this is law really. So it's like law and then person. So like a lawyer would be like law person, because this sign means like person. So like a lot, but not all the occupations will have like, might have like connected things. Like there's like instead of veterinarian doesn't have like a direct word in ASL, so it's like animal doctor person.
Oh.
You know, or I forgot if doctor is just doctor on its own.
What
or
was
if you need to be a
writer?
person. But yeah, so it's like you put your hand out and then you like move your finger over it, I think.
That makes sense.
I gotta study today. I have my class tomorrow. But yeah, and then critic was interesting because it was like a like X, like an X motion like over your hand, which frankly is like less of an aggressive way to say critic than I thought it might be. I'm like, what is this gonna be? Because like critic is kind of has like a negative connotation in a way, but it's like, so it'd be like you make the V on this hand for like video game, and then
this is game, kind of
so
like,
I'm like, okay,
it's almost
yeah,
like a controller sort of energy.
Yeah, but you fold. It's like you'd have your thumbs facing out, and it's like your
Oh.
hand is this way. So it's like a controller, but like on your whole, like towards your body.
Oh.
So yeah,
That's
but yeah,
fascinating.
it's been super fun, and it's like it's just nice to like get to. It's funny because it's like half joke, half serious. Like I do joke about like, with me not finishing Bravely Default 2 and Jeff, I'm not finishing Red Dead. It's like, yeah, sure, we haven't finished that, but like, it's not over until you quit. And even then you can go back. So I'm like, I really do believe that like I'll finish some of these games. And I really do believe in like I've wanted to learn ASL for like ever. I'm like, oh, it seems like it'd be like a really fun language to learn. Like I'm really interested in it.
Yeah.
Never did it. And then I did it, and now look, I'm doing it. So it's like, boom, it's that simple. And I don't know, that stuff gets me really like hyped. But
that's so amazing.
Yeah,
Imagine
we'll
how much
see
you'd change someone's day if like a deaf person was walking around struggling. You're able to help them that day. Like that would be amazing. So rewarding.
Or like something that was really cool that like I didn't talk about like on content because like it felt like too like gratuitous. So I'm like, oh, no, it's about me. But when I did the I guess I talked about it a little bit. But when I did the that game. God, I'm blanking on Harmonium, where it's like about that girl who's deaf. Like one of the like developers on the team is deaf, and I took one class and I was like, but I was able to say like, hi, like nice to meet you, and then I'm learning. So it was just cool to be like, oh my God, like and obviously not to make it like in like weird, like there's obviously ways where you can like use a second language to be like a little bit like, hey, like don't make it weird, right? But I'm like, oh okay, like I got like I actually am learning this now, and that was like also very exciting. So I'm like, whoa, what a weird like coincidence kind of. And that day too, my Uber driver was also deaf. So I was like,
wow.
Oh, that's crazy. Then I was like, oh, like then I'm like, I'm like, what do I do? Like, how do I like say anything? But also they're driving, so it's not like they can look at me and like see what I'm saying. But
fair.
It was just like a weird. It was like a weird chain of events.
It was like the world rewarding you for
stay
your
tuned
new skill.
Yeah, like it just kind of like lined up. It's like, oh, like it's happening in real life. And like our teacher is like very big on like, yeah, to like actually learn. It's like you have to like, go into like the deaf community, do events, like talk to people, and like, like anything else, just practice. But we'll see. I'd like to continue with it. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned for like the eventual there is like spoilers for the future for like Min-Max people. There is like some interest in doing a forum of like a better Quest resurgence, like not necessarily like the podcast format, but just like I definitely want to do some stuff with that, and I have some stuff planned. Like I don't want to give it away yet, but we'll see. Maybe with the ASL thing, I could always do like a little video on that. But like, since I'm not like recording like my class, it's like
you could like
maybe
teach
not,
me
but it'll
some
be like
stuff,
a pre.
Maybe.
Well,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, that could be cool. So yeah, maybe I'll do a little something with that. But I have something else in the works that I don't want to spoil what it is that I'm gonna probably start working on in July. So like in 2 to 3 months when you see content, you're like, I was there when you said you might be doing this. So
Inception
shout out to you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you're learning that. I've always been interested in ASL just because I'm fascinated on what the types of motions that words turn into. Like even just
me
like
too.
game. Like someone had to be like, what's the best way to say game that is fluid enough that you can move into the next word. Like it's not like you're doing something crazy and it's hard to flow. Like I bet there's this whole interesting science towards how they come up with words for specific things. When a new word comes out, who comes up with? I bet there's different like how would you phrase that? Different strains of ASL depended on regions and stuff.
I guess still like maybe like dialects, and that's just me assuming. Someone did ask that on the first day of class, like because for day one my teacher had a translator with her, and she's like, now's the time for you to ask me everything you want about deaf culture because like you have a translator and it's easier because after that like y'all will either need to, I mean, like this kind of goes without saying, but just to like clarify for people who might not be as aware, like she can hear, it's just that like she's deaf, so she obviously like speaks with ASL and expects us to like use ASL only like in the classroom like you would in most language classrooms where it's like, hey, you do that, and if you need to, you can write it out or you can finger spell it out for like communicating with her. So to that end, it is inherently easier to like have a full conversation if she has a translator in terms of like following that guideline for how she operates her classroom. So someone asked that, and she did say like, yeah, there are different ways to like say different things in like different areas, and that I forgot where she lived at a certain time. I think somewhere on the East Coast where she's like, there were like words that were just totally different where I was like, oh, this word means this to me, but to you it means trash can. It's like, that's like what? And how she had to kind of like learn how to talk there and like communicate with like that community, but that like, oh, it wasn't too bad because we could figure out like, oh, this is what you mean by this. But I also started to like try to like improve my like learning, like I started following some like deaf content creators on TikTok, and like one of them is this Black woman who lives in LA actually, and she does like the like music translation transcription for like songs and stuff, and
Oh,
she was
cool.
talking about like, you know, slang for like ASL. She's like, I see a lot of people signing like standing on business, like a person standing on a business, but that's not what it would mean because it's like, you know, it's not a literal translation. So like for her, I forgot what the gesture is. It's like something with like a period, and it's kind of like it's boundary period is what she signs. And to her, that's kind of like that sentiment is the same sentiment as like
Oh.
verbally saying standing on business. So it's interesting to see like, you know, her talk about something like that where it has like that cultural connotation, the idea of like kind of similar to like any translation or like doing like poetry translation or things. Like how do you capture like the sentiment of something and not just like directly trying to take the words? So that's been interesting to like see as well. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm not really sure like how that process is or how much it's like formalized. And I think it's interesting too because formality is always behind how we live. Like, you know, majors don't exist until we've been you know, there's a streaming major is going to exist in 10 years.
Yeah.
While people have been streaming for like a living for forever. And like the English language is the same way. Like the Merriam-Webster dictionary is always like behind on like, well, okay, now this means this. Like I know a lot of people got mad when they added figuratively to literally. They're like, oh, but literally it's like, yeah, but like it just changed. Like
That's how humans
enough
use
people
it.
did it where like
Yeah.
it's different. And now like, so we're sort of always behind on the documentation. And even like in some of my teacher's slides, she like mentions like, oh, this is like an old sign for this. Like you can use this, but like people like I say it this way. Like there was one for sandwich where it's like this. I mean, there's probably different ways to say everything, but she's like, for me, I just do like that gesture of like eating a sandwich, like the two little like you shrink your hand and go like this. But there's like another way to sign it that's like different or longer. She's like, oh, for this, I like do it like breakfast. Like there's like a longer like a day meal, and for her, it's just like, well, I forgot what breakfast is, but dinner is like you make a D and then you like make the food gesture,
Oh.
and that's dinner. But there's like another way to say dinner that's more of like
You just do it like opposite
night
or something.
meal or
Yeah.
something instead of just like D food, which is dinner. So there's those like differentiations too, and I'm not quite sure like what is the trajectory of when that gets solidified. Like I don't know, but I mean
Yeah.
language in general is like very fascinating, and it's been fun to do that. But anyway, we can talk more about that though once maybe when I'm done, and if we make like a content piece for it. I saw someone
Yeah.
in the chat mention that they're like also learning ASL, and like Ash is like, oh, I've been like thinking about learning for a long time. So yeah, I can see too if Zaya's free for that because he's been learning alongside me, and like he knows a little bit more than me because he took a class before. So like it would be definitely fun to do like a little retrospective. And he's like, oh, we should like on the last day of class, like would you be down to like hit up our classmates and see if they want to meet up? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. And like I like that Isaiah's a little more thoughtfully extroverted than me, where I'm like, I was just gonna hope for the best and be like, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. Like we should make that extra effort to, you know, connect with people and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that.
Anyway, thanks for hanging out for so long. This was like, I feel like this could have been like a million years long, and I would not have tired of it because it's a pleasure talking to you
I
about
love chatting with
life
you.
and things.
This is the best. Yeah. I love how I'll have my I wrote my 3 little points down, but there's always a swore of things to talk in between. It's always a lovely time chatting with you, Janet. Love it. And congrats on all the stuff
Yay,
happening
thanks
in
for
your
hosting.
life. The office and your
Yeah.
wedding coming up, and you're learning ASL. You're a busy bee. It's exciting to check in with you. And I'm sure I heard a lot of people
Yeah,
in the chat
thanks.
being like, this is great. Just like, you know, we talk about games. Games are fun, but it's fun to talk about other things sometimes. And I kind of love that for Bonus
hell
Pod.
yeah.
Yeah, I want Bonus Pod to be about that too. We can talk about games sometimes, but also all the stuff in between. Well, thank you, Janet, so much for hanging out with me. And thank you, everybody, for listening. It's a fantastic episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And next week I have a special guest, but maybe I won't reveal it yet. I'll keep that a surprise. I'll let you all know that next Monday. But thank you so much for listening to Bonus Pod, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye. And folks on Twitch, let's see who's live right now. Janet, have you noticed that Twitch isn't doing the
Of course.
the when you go to raid from the maybe I'm just messing it up, but whenever I go to raid from the dash cam or dashboard
chat?
thing, it doesn't show the people we're actually following. It just has like raid channel. It just brings
Oh.
up random channels. So I have to open up a second Twitch
I don't
thing
know, but
to see who's
I know
live.
Giant Bomb is live. If you want to take
Yeah.
them, I think we follow them. Yeah, we follow them.
We
I just looked at
do.
my own live following and
That's
thought
what I had
about
to
who
do,
we had
yeah.
the overlap with. Yeah.
All right, let's start that right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Giant Bomb
everybody.
seems like an easy dub.
That chained together game looks really fun.
Oh damn, we should have rated Ellie. I just realized she was live too. Oh well. Next
shit.
time.
Next time.
She's live a lot.
She is. All right, thanks everybody on Twitch. Bye. Raid.
My type of summer break is very
Yeah, you
cold.
changed it.